Welcome, everybody. It's
Hi.
Thursday, and we've got a great show for you today. Welcome back. We're Cloak and Stagger. Another episode of I'm Not Scrying podcast thing. That's cool.
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
We don't syndicate to any podcast shows.
Syndicate.
Yeah.
What's that word mean?
To take and pass through.
Really? That's a real word?
Syndicate? Yes.
Moose, did you know it was a real word?
Syndicate?
So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, so I'm the idiot here.
it's
Joe.
popular in media.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Syndicate.
That's one of
is,
them big boy, I want to be smart words, it sounds like to me. That's a salient
It's
point
three-
you have there, Red
it's
Line.
3 syllables,
Salient.
dude.
To publish or broadcast simultaneously in a number of media mediums.
That's the true definition of syndicate. So like Riot
Yeah.
Games is syndicating right now.
No.
Put out they put out the show, they put out the mobile phone game, they put out the,
Like when someone does a podcast, if like they're a live radio host or like a satellite radio host and they're putting it on satellite, like Joe Rogan, right? Like his stuff he does live and then it goes to YouTube and then it goes to Spotify. He's syndicating that content to multiple mediums.
Oh, so it's one thing going multiple places.
Sure.
Sal says shows go into syndication.
It's also when you sell to a syndicate, and in the Google example, it gives if you were to sell a horse to a syndicate, you would be syndicating that horse.
All right.
In use, it says the stallion was syndicated for a record $5.4 million.
Stand by that's a big boy word for wanting to show you big boy brain if you throw that in a sentence regularly.
Sometimes you just gotta put your dick on the table, man. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm gonna syndicate. I don't know.
What are you
I
gonna
fucking still
syndicate?
don't know. I still don't know.
Tell me.
I'm gonna syndicate the first topic we have.
Okay.
Well, I don't think you're allowed to syndicate this topic.
You just don't appreciate my syndication.
You don't even understand the meaning of the word.
Well, now you're just being rhetorical.
Well, now you're being obtrusive.
Ooh.
I was copying a Dragon Ball Bridge quote there. What are we talking about? I want to know the topic. It's not Syndicate, the faction on New World. I'm not talking about New World right now.
You know what we are going to
Alley-Rockers
talk
and
about?
Schmeckles.
We're going to talk about something that young James here has been itching, dying, living to talk about.
The next WoW expansion.
Yeah, WoW 2. They're finally doing it.
That's not it. It's not it. Please
No.
don't leave the stream immediately, everyone.
We're talking about Final Fantasy Endwalker.
It's here. Well, in a few
Almost.
hours. What's the release hour?
I believe it's 1 in the morning, for me at least.
Are you gonna be there?
You know, I thought about it. Oh, it's
1 a.m. Pacific.
So that's like
3 a.m.
Yeah. So I
I
learned a
have a
lesson.
recommendation on how to stay awake, but I don't think I can say that on Twitch.
I'm not staying up for it. No way. I learned that even if you're super excited for a release, you don't fuck yourself like that, or you end up you become a zombie while playing. I did that for, I think, a total of 3 expansions for World of Warcraft.
Mm.
And
We've all been
I'm
there.
just gonna yeah, exactly. Y'all did the same damn thing. I'm just gonna sleep. I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna shower, casually go to my computer, and then throw down for 11 days straight.
Ooh, that's strong.
I got vacation, man. I took off a lot of
11
work for
day
this.
bender. So you're excited. You would say you're excited.
So tell us a little bit. What's up with Endwalker? Why are you excited for it?
I was
First of all,
all taking all next
and-
week off too.
And second
Shit.
of all, why should we give a fuck?
Well, first off, I'm excited. Well, I want to answer. Do I want to answer those in that order? I'm gonna reverse them. I'm gonna start with why should you give a fuck? We're gonna start with that one.
Okay.
Okay.
because this is the low key, always has been, don't understand how the world couldn't see it, absolute best MMO experience that's been out there for a
Mm.
long time. And a
Mm.
lot of people tend to, there's been a lot of copium suckage with a few other games that I don't want to name right now.
Mm.
That's haze
Wildstar.
people's views. It's exactly Wildstar. Yeah, no, not Wildstar, but you get the idea.
Mm.
People have been just blinded in their own worlds and missing out on this gorgeous, amazing graphic story, combat, everything fucking MMO. That's the number one reason why you should give a fuck right there.
It
There's
is
a reason
the
I'm
best
excited.
game that's ever been developed.
But what does it mean for the when I say
what's
why should
better,
I give
Jamie?
a fuck? What I mean when I ask that is this. What impact does this have on the greater MMO gaming community outside of just here you go, next game. Have fun.
Right now, the impact, if we're talking about like the current state of affairs in the world, WoW is the champion, and they're clearly not the champion now. So someone has to step up and just be, hey, everyone just knows this is, and without me just, this is the best MMO. Truly, everyone has to say like, oh, the best MMO out there right now? Well, that's probably Final Fantasy. We're at that state, and now they're putting out their first expansion since they've been in that position. So when this comes out, this is essentially a make or break. Hey, is this the best MMO out there, truly? Or is this just another, like you said, is this, okay, here's a churned out thing that, the fan base will love and a few other people will love. And, is anything else coming out soon? One of those. So I'm super curious to see how the world's going to react when this comes out. I mean, I already know where I stand with it. But we'll say, like, even using you guys for an example. For those of you that have time. Maybe not both of you. So you don't have any time.
Like, I'll be honest, it looks cool. The cinematics are very they're very eye-grabbing. Final Fantasy, I've always enjoyed the series, give or take some depending on which one we're talking about. I did enjoy Final Fantasy Online for a decent while, but I got to the point where I felt like there was nothing in it for me left to do. Like, one thing I can say, and this is not me giving WoW any sort of break or credit or anything outside of just saying the one thing WoW has mostly done very well is their like the boss mechanics for like end game rating. I think that's been generally something I've felt has been a strong point of theirs. So not excusing any of the other pieces of garbage that is the entire dumpster fire of that game as it currently stands, but compared to when I look at like Final Fantasy, I see kind of the end game stuff, and you've got I forget the terminology for it, but you have the ones where you go straight in, you fight the boss, and then you kind of fuck off and go back to do whatever. Then there's some other world shit that you can do, I guess, as well, but none of it just came out to me and was just like, this has a lot of meat on the bone that you can kind of grab off. Is this expansion changing anything within that regard? Because I haven't really kept up with it.
Bone that you can grab off, sir. I have to, with all due respect, I have to say,
don't even hit me with respect, dude. If you're gonna disrespect me, just do it.
I am afraid you have been missing out for the last 4 years of meat that this thing has been putting out. Even the crafting and gathering. I'll say it again. Crafting and gathering.
See, on surface level,
fun.
that sounds lame as fuck.
It does, doesn't it? But it's Final Fantasy found a way to actually make it super engaging and fun.
Is it more than go to a harvesting node and pressing E?
Yes, there's a lot more to it now because they have the collectible system. So essentially, when you're like, I'm a miner. Actually, I got all three of them. I'm a miner, botanist, and fisher now. So when I go to any node, and I'm trying to get something. If it's fishing, I have to know the right bait. If it's a certain type of lake, saltwater, freshwater, whatever, I have to know the size of the fish I might be going for. If it's a full moon, it's a fucking lunar cycle. If it's a goddamn no moon, I have to be aware of that. I have to make these decisions in the moment, where I'm at, what I'm doing to get that specific fish. That's just fishing. Mining has a similar vein, where you go to a certain node.
Is that a mining
What time
pun?
is it? Where are you? Wait, what?
Was that a mining pun you just did?
No, I did. It was completely on accident.
You said mining's in a similar vein.
I'm fucking good. Yeah, that was intentional. Good. I'm glad you caught it. So, mining works in that way too. I won't use this pun again. You have a specific node you have to go to. There's like 7 different things you can gather. Some of them are just question marks. You don't fucking know. There's certain conditions you have to figure out and explore, or look up and just wait for other people to do it for you to be able to access those nodes. Certain things only spawn at certain times in certain areas. Otherwise, they don't even fucking exist. There's so much more to it than, hey, look, a true silver vein. Right click. Got it. I'm on my way. That's leagues different.
We got a poll in the chat, by the way, that's got probably a minute on it left.
Yeah.
We have a poll?
Let us know. Let us know.
I was gonna say, because I don't know if people see this or not. In my view.
I see it.
Okay.
Let us know what you
that's
think.
why Sal said that. Yeah, you damn right, Sal. Choo choo LFG. But now I don't want to get into super more details, because I could talk up all the fucking systems and whatnot. But as far as if we're talking just pure content, I mean, the game's a goddamn content overload.
That's what I understand.
It really is. There's so much shit to do depending on what you like to do.
That's my understanding of Final Fantasy's strength, is that where WoW built systems, Final Fantasy built content, and like each expansion is genuinely a story-based game that you go through, and there's an arc and a completion to that. Where WoW, I think, is obviously they try to tell a story with each expansion, but I think they try to make it much more singular character centric, and it's all about the conflict with that single character, and there's not much meat behind the storytelling that goes into that for me, right? And they like to do multimedia storytelling. They like to put out their books and have lore in a number of different places, and they don't do a great job of telling that in game. And it's really just like 4 or 5 voice lines that each dungeon boss gets, and that's the extent of lore that you really get in game. But that Final Fantasy's like content is absolutely fantastic, but for somebody who hasn't played the game for several expansions, could seem overwhelming.
I will agree with that.
Time, if you were to jump in, and I think they have a character boost, right? Like if you want to just boost to the last couple of expansions, you can.
Everyone
but it's not a good idea.
Everyone shuns that.
Yeah.
If you're paying for the boost and the story skip, it's kind of, I mean, the whole point of the game is to emotionally attach these characters, man. Like if you boost and then Thancred comes in like, I need your help, please. She's gonna die if you don't help me. And you're like, who the fuck are you? I guess.
No emotional attachment to that.
Thancred's a whole ass bitch, dude.
So
are you looking at the trailer? Did you not see his gunblade? Well, not right now. It's a paladin man with the sword out.
Gunblade's where it's except for your wife. Other than that, where it's at. In the chat, we had 3 choo-choo LFGs winning the poll.
Yeah, the choo-choos have it.
One person said, "I'm gonna play COD, bro," and another person said, "I might check it out." No one said, "I'd rather eat old milk." So
whoever says that is, you just don't get it. I just never understand.
Yeah,
I'll try to make you get it.
That's how I feel about Battlefield. I'd rather eat old milk. But so for me, and this is, I'm speaking only for me, I am definitely a story and lore driven individual, and I know that this game is like, when you talk about meat on the bone, there's a lot. It's one of those big, like if you go to Mexico and they have those big pieces of meat on the things that are spinning around and they just kind of shave some off a little at a time, those things. It's like
Oh,
that.
they do that at Casablanca. Shawarma. Mixed shawarma.
There you go. I didn't know the name of it because I'm an uncultured swine. But
There's that something de Brazil. I forget what it's called.
Texas de
Texas
Brazil.
de Brazil. I do that
Texas de
too.
Brazil. There you go.
But so, anyways, that's up my alley. But here's the thing: as an MMO, a multiplayer game, I can see myself just getting completely like, I'm not getting on Discord. I'm not talking to anybody because I want to play through this story, and I want to listen to all the cutscenes. I want to read all the fucking text. I want everything, and I can't be distracted or like if I'm on Discord talking, it breaks my immersion. The same way as I can't play, like if I'm on here playing Horizon, which I've very much been enjoying, by the way, as a side note.
Yeah, that's all right.
I could not get on Discord and just casually talk to people while I'm playing that. I would constantly be deafening it or just ignoring it altogether because I just can't function that way. So when I think about Final Fantasy as a multiplayer game, I see myself getting on there and playing as a single player game and be like, I'm not fucking talking to you nerds. I've got quests.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, actually. I'm glad you brought that up because let me tell you this, and y'all might have heard this before. Final Fantasy is a Final Fantasy game first and an MMO second.
It's an RPG MMO.
Story is temporary, but once you're done with story, that's when it's just pure multiplayer.
And that's the part that worries me. Not worries me, but that's the part that I feel like I would find myself like, oh, okay, done with the story, get on, do some of the boss fights a few times, and then, there's a squirrel. Going to find the squirrel.
Go find the what? What do you mean going to go find the squirrel?
I'm telling you, I would get easily distracted because it doesn't. At least again, I'm ignorant of this. I haven't played in a long time, so I don't know, and I could be wrong. But it feels like once that carrot on a stick is gone, once you get that carrot and you finish that story and you do the raids or whatever they're called in this a couple times, it seems like for the most part they're not, you've got some dungeons, but like the end game stuff, it's like warp in here, all right, there's the boss, it's real hard, we might die 20 times to it, but chances are we'll probably kill it. And as opposed, again, I'm not simping for WoW right now, I promise, but with their end game content, with the raids, like, it may be a couple months before you complete that content.
So a couple things there. Well,
hit me with it.
Let's start with the what to do. So there's a few things that got introduced a couple expansions back. They're like, I don't even know how to really explain them. One's called Eureka, one's called Bosja. They're these huge zones that have their own entity. You don't have to do them or even touch them or think about them at all. But in these zones, if you do them, they have their own side story. It's almost like a main story, except it's I really don't know how to explain it. They have all these. Do you know what a fate is? Y'all played for a little bit. Do you remember what a fate is?
Yeah, I remember the
That's
term.
like an
but
instance, right?
is that the dungeons?
No, neither of those. It's like you're walking around the world and then suddenly a circle.
Oh, it's the open world
The
quest
open world
thing.
stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of
I forget
those.
the Warhammer term for them, but Warhammer came up with that.
Yeah, it's like that. So a lot of those will appear, and you go do them, and you have quests to collect a certain amount of thingies, whatever they are, for the whole reason you're doing this zone. And they build up what essentially, and I'll use Bosja for example. Bosja was building up your ultimate weapon, your strongest weapon possible. And so this is a zone you if you're teaming up with people, it's much easier and faster. If you're alone, it's a bit more difficult, but you can do that. They have this entire side system up to where you can drink specific potions that make your class do different things. Like a healer can drink a potion there, says increases your damage by 110% and reduces your damage taken by 30%. So essentially the white mage can get out there and not just be throwing sticks at stuff and be throwing goddamn mountains at stuff instead, so they can do their thing. It introduced a different way to play people's jobs to get through this content, to do this extra stuff that you don't have to do. It's just fucking there to do if you want to do it. And there are like 20 other systems like that all throughout the game of other things that are available. So besides just queuing for the raid or the trial, getting in, killing the thing, and getting out. Now, another thing they do really well that I wish WoW would have done better. WoW had kind of time walking, but Final Fantasy, like, they respect the shit out of all their old content.
Yeah, WoW was
All
just kind of like,
throughout-
fuck that place, dude. We're done.
Never
all
existed.
throughout,
Never existed.
Shadowbringers, you're doing. I'm nonstop going to old stuff, not because like, oh, the old stuff's cool, but because not only is it awesome, I get the benefits of doing that old stuff. It gives me these tomes to acquire these other items. It gives me these rare materials that drop off them that I can take apart to craft these awesome looking weapons that only crafters can make. Another cool thing about the crafters, there's stuff they can only make that looks super fucking cool. There's just, God, I'll have to make a goddamn spreadsheet to go over all the extra side shit you can do in here.
I thought you were gonna
Like,
have a spreadsheet. I was ready for spreadsheet
I was ready
Jamie
for the
today.
PowerPoint
I'm
presentation.
showing up unprepared right now for your. This is your moment, dude. This was you knew
I-
this was coming. What are you doing?
I didn't plan on going in depth on Endwalker and saying, if you're not playing it, I apologize, but you're missing out so goddamn hard.
No, this was his chance.
That was my argument.
Now I'm glad I didn't make that little background.
Yeah.
You gotta earn custom backgrounds.
Man, what else can I? Oh yeah,
So-
I didn't even answer one of the other reasons why I'm hyped for it.
Yeah. Why are you excited?
Because I get to use a goddamn two-hand scythe, finally, is why I'm hyped for it.
Being an edgelord.
Grim Reaper
Yes,
looking.
I
man.
wear my characters wear all black, mask, wield huge sword. That's
Are you
my
gonna have a
favorite
black
style.
hat pet?
I don't really like the minions. I don't like the minions that much. No pets for me.
That's one
It's
thing.
not what I have to do
I
today,
never
it's
even
what I
did in
want to
WoW.
do today.
There's very few things I didn't do in WoW, and that was one. I don't think on any character I had done a single pet battle, ever, at all.
Main
ever.
battles.
Stupid.
I did
a-
some for rep, but I certainly did not like
Didn't
have an
even give a
interest
fuck
in
about the rep.
developing that.
That's a whole other system too. That's the gold saucer you're talking about now. I mean, they got. I don't even know how many mini games are in there. They got the pet battles, the weird mahjong, the mini games to get the MGP, which is like their gold saucer currency. Random events that spawn in that. That alone could be a whole fucking day if you just want to hang out there and be a party mini game guy. I mean, there's so many different things you could do.
Mm.
Kim got into the club scene recently,
Yeah.
going to the underground club field, building their mansions.
Missed it
very
in high
popular.
school, hitting it when we're 30. Let's go, boys.
That's right. Them Lalafels stay the same age, baby.
I don't really go to those because I'd be leaning on the wall in my all black trench coat just watching. You know what I'm saying? That's my character.
Dude, live your truth, man. Live your truth.
That's fun.
But
What
I'm
race are you?
stoked for it, man. I'm a Midlander, which used to be
is
called.
that a human?
That's a Hure. That's why
A
you are.
vanilla ass human. Damn, go off, King. Let's go.
They only do that because they're Lalafels and they get made
Are
fun
you
of, like,
Hugh
24
Warrior?
fucking 7. No, I'm Dark Knight. Hure Dark Knight.
Hey,
Use sword.
Batman.
Use
I was gonna say.
sword. Soon.
Where's Joker? Where is he?
Where's the saucer?
Lalafels are weak, Baka. I don't want to be a Lalafell. They're so nothing. You know what really just turns my dick inside out is when I'm in a cutscene and one of these people I saved, he's like crying and said, "We couldn't save them all, but thank you, friend, thank you." And then it pans to you and your little clown face going in the fucking cutscene. Okay, that's so weak.
That's great.
I just had a mental picture of that. That was good.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Hey,
painting that. I do have a
jump
question
off on
here.
that
I'm gonna
TikTok.
fast forward this video here a little bit.
Okay.
Where is it? Yeah, here we are.
Are you a Pally Dan?
I need
Salvo?
to know right now. Do we actually get to go to the fucking moon? Do we go to space?
And his GameStop there.
In a couple of the scenes in the past, some of the cutscenes, yeah, some shit talking, of course, Lalafells.
Rude.
In a couple of the cutscenes in the past of previous expansions, shit's been going down where they're on the moon talking, like the bad guy and some other bad guy, and they're like, they'll never understand our plans. The other one's like, that's right, we have the plans, and they're talking about some shit. I don't remember, but it's weird. But
Do
yeah, they were showing the moon.
breathe in space?
I have no idea what they're gonna do to say we can just breathe up there. I'm sure there's
Vanilla
gonna be some
humans cannot breathe in
magical
space.
aura. I'm sure there's gonna be some magical aura BS that'll let everyone breathe on the moon. That's not a concern. But I do.
I think
know
you
for
have
a
to
fact,
fuck a fish and get gills.
That's
now
what
we're
I
just
heard.
being we're just being syndicatal right now.
Being
So-
They showed the attack animations of the Reaper, and they were doing it on the on the moon. So yeah, you definitely go to the moon at some point.
is it
They-
low grav?
I don't know.
Do you get the
did, they
jump
make,
fire?
did they make noise?
I don't know shit about the moon. God damn it! I just know there's fighting on it.
I just look. I'm
Tell
a
me more
space
about the
fan.
moon. This is what for the last 20 minutes you've been going off about Endwalker. This is the thing I'm most interested in. Tell me about the moon.
They haven't released any information about any of the
I'm out.
zones.
I'm 100% out.
Then you'll never see the moon then until I stream it, probably 3 days from now, because that's how long it'll take to get there, right?
Probably.
I don't know. That's-
If
that
you're
might be a
going,
late
if
game
you're
zone.
going at Jamie rate, because look, you talk a big fucking game about getting sleep and shit right now,
Mhm.
but you, the three of us in here, and
you
probably
started your
most,
download,
probably most of the congregation as well knows damn well that plan's going out the window.
Mhm.
We're gonna hear from you at like 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Like, oh guys, I fucked up, guys. I stayed up for 3 days straight. I was gonna go to bed, and then one thing just led to another, and now I haven't slept the entire weekend.
Yep.
And now I've
Man.
reached end game, and I'm out of things to do.
I mean, I flow with the river. If the river takes a hard bend, then I guess I'm just scooting around with it. My little inner tube, just having a good time.
Hmm.
Look at that
They're
download
fine.
go. 10 gigawatts.
Dude, look, as much shit as we gave you about your previous internet, and it was ass.
It was ass.
Let's be 100%
Yeah.
truthful here. It was
Tremendously.
ass.
AOL
to-
sad to lose you as a customer.
I went to somebody's house today, and they were so excited to use Netflix for the first time. Got their account created and everything. Did a speed test on their internet because it told us that Netflix, to download the Netflix app, it was going to take almost an hour.
Ooh.
They were getting 0.4 megabits per second down.
Yikes.
Wow.
So,
To download the Netflix app.
yes, just the app.
So I
I don't
can
even know what
imagine
you
to
can
watch
at
it.
that point. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, we literally told, like, hey, you're going to have to rectify this before you can do anything.
Yeah.
What a fucking look at that image. Y'all see that
Yo.
image? You know what a paladin's supposed to look like? Protector,
Awesome.
the defender of the people. He's supposed to look like that motherfucker on the moon right now on our screens. That's what he's supposed to look like.
Isn't Ernie a paladin in our Descent into
I got
Avernus
that-
campaign?
That's a Hur right there too. And yeah, he is. He is a paladin in our campaign. He's a very questionable paladin in our campaign. And I've looked up his god to see what he can and can't do. And everything he's done so far can debatably be justified. So
Which I just want to say, we can make this a topic for another day because I don't necessarily want to get into it, but I don't necessarily like alignments as like establishing rules. I like them as like flavor more so.
yeah, they don't really treat it too differently in a lot of cases. Like alignment doesn't matter until you pick up an item that's like if this character is a good aligned character, it burns their hand, like that
Right.
type
And
of shit.
and even that I would, depending on the situation, the character and the item, I would, probably even look at something
Now-
like that.
If you get your powers from your god and your god's like, I love kittens, and then you start kicking kittens, it makes sense not to have your powers anymore though, right?
That makes sense, yes.
Okay.
But that seems
Sacrilege.
like you'd almost have to try. Like,
Yeah.
I hate my character, and I would like.
Not necessarily. If you're a life cleric and you heal stuff, and eventually you're like, I don't know, look at this creature that's wounded. They're not really supposed to be destroyers or killers. They're supposed to help and mend and spare. And they walk up to this wounded creature that's looking up at them, and they're like, best option? Crush its head with my mace. Bam! And that's just the way they treat their entire, character, and then they would justify it. I'm putting it out of its misery. That sounds like a low-key psychopath behavior. So the odds are their life
depends on the
tendencies
injury.
are going to disappear.
Depends on the injury, bro.
It can, but if it's a common occurrence, there's a pattern we can find there, right?
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm totally down to talk about alignments and D&D stuff. So we'll go to that.
We'll add it to the list.
Yeah, add it to the list. Yeah.
There's another D&D topic. I don't think it's on the list right now, but it's probably a pretty spicy one. I'll probably get canceled for it, to be honest.
Oh, dude, fuck the list then. Let's go into it. I like that. That sounds like that's content. Lay the content on the table.
I don't know, man.
We'll put it on the list.
Yeah, we should just put it on the list.
Hey, I'll put up a poll, and the chat's gonna fucking say. I'll tell you, I already know.
I feel like I'm going to get SJW obliterated into like. You want this channel?
The topic you're talking about is on the list.
Do you want this channel to die?
Kinda.
Hey, who's watching us right now? Type in chat if you're watching us.
It's a VOD forever.
This is the thing that, like, 10 years down the road, if we're very successful with this, somebody will dig up. Oh, see, there it is.
Okay, so we got a couple people watching. Hey, yo, how you doing? Got Quinn, Sal, Rim. All right. Well, I personally would love to hear your nuclear drop, and then we could discuss it. But Red, you can tell us the next topic if you want to. Sure. Or I could tell you more stuff about Systems of Endwalker, which I had no.
The next topic is Omicron. The new COVID variant has made its way to the great shores of the United States in search of the American dream. It found its way initially in California, has now been detected in, I believe, Minnesota, and I'm sure likely to spread throughout the rest of the United States. The new variant, first found in, I believe, South Africa, has shown to have over 20 mutations that put a lot of questionability behind vaccine effectiveness for its spread. The good news being that while it seems highly viral, symptoms appear to be quite mild. Nevertheless, quite a fear going on around the ease of spread and its potential to avoid vaccines. So a couple of points of discussion can come from that, of how worried are you over the new COVID variant? And just in general, how's your mental state against COVID and how it's changed the world, and what's your COVID experience over the last nearly 2 years been like?
Damn, it has been 2 years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jamie.
That was my take.
I didn't hear your take.
Oh,
Put a new poll in the chat to see how chat feels about it.
Oh, I just said, because I don't know. There's gonna be like a new mutated COVID like every few weeks. It fucking feels like. I hate masks. I'll say that, but I know they're required. And
are you an anti-masker?
No. I'm a science guy. The science shows it works, so fucking do it. That doesn't mean I don't like having my beard be super fucking wet all day. You know what I'm talking about? I'm wearing my mask like this and fucking, I'm just power walking over the facility to fix shit, and it's a pain, but it's a necessary pain.
So far in the polls, we have 2 people who will continue to go out but take appropriate caution, while 1 person will go back into hiding. For me, I think anyone is fatigued at this point over the protocols, just the preparation that goes into going out, the ritual you have to do coming back, bringing the mask, like it's all inconvenience, right? There's certainly a social we've been socially starved for 2 years, physically, outside of obviously virtual connections, but
socially starved.
Yeah, being around people and just going out, physically meeting for dinner, going to a bar, hanging out, going to a bowling alley. A lot of people haven't, been able to do that for one reason or another. Like even you guys getting together for D&D, like that's probably more physical interaction than I get on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's true.
Either if you moved here or we all moved to Florida, that can happen.
I will never move to Florida.
Sounds like you need to move here.
It's a terrible place.
To the worst place.
Why is it a terrible place?
Either we'll come to Death Valley of the armpit of the South, or you can come to I don't know, Vice City where we live.
Florida man's from Florida.
That's me.
No, you're not Florida man. You don't go do cocaine and wrestle an alligator, then buy
Florida
a 7-Up at
sucks,
the 7-Eleven.
says D. Quinzel.
I mean, you don't know that.
Yeah,
I
think you got it, Quinn. That's right. Florida, terrible place.
Dude,
Tennessee's not much better.
I love Florida. Florida is the sassy bitch state. It is just a sassy bitch, and it brings like it's so much entertainment that comes out of Florida man. It's so good. It's to the point now you can look at a video on Reddit of some insane person and be like, I bet you $100 that's Florida. And then at the end, it's like, in Tallahassee this week.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll say, obviously, Florida's a bit infamous for how we've handled COVID, which is we haven't. We pretended like it didn't exist for 2 years. A lot of people died, and now in the state of Florida, either you're immunized because you've gotten the vaccine or you had it, or you died. Like those are the statuses in Florida. And like there was a big celebration in November because we had the lowest case rate in November, and everybody's like, Florida did it right. See, look at all these numbers. When literally just a couple months ago in June, we had the highest death count and highest death rate in all 50 states. In July, we had the highest case rate, which is cases per 100,000 people, so that makes it even across populations. Had the fifth highest case rate in July, and that accounted for 1/5 of all U.S. cases in that month. And then, a few months later, we have the lowest case rate. But again, because either you had it, got vaccinated, or died, is kind of the status of everyone here now at this point, which is wild. And in my job, like
Texas life.
Well, that's kind of funny because Texas like went into lockdowns initially, and then they lifted the lockdowns, and they got a shit ton of flack when that happened. And then Florida was just chilling, like, should have never closed, bro. Nobody would have noticed. Like if you would have just stayed open, nobody would have given you shit because we're chilling. But like I travel a bunch for work, and went to like New York, which has been ultra lockdown. And for me, the experiences are super jarring, and it has constantly made me realize the scenario in Florida where like you go to any store, you go out wherever, I would say you're lucky to see 25% masked. Like that would be fairly high. Is that
Florida right now?
Florida, absolutely, yeah. Florida, the whole 2 years, we never had mask mandates. It just never was really a thing. And I'm in, I guess, a more conservative part of Florida. But like if you wore a mask, people looked at you. Fuck this guy.
Oh, fuck that. Fuck, dude, no, get out of here, Florida. Go away. That pisses me off hearing that.
Where going to New York, like it was a very serious thing. If you did not have your mask, there were check-ins. Like, do you have your mask in some places?
Unless you're a cop.
Yeah, unless you're a cop. More recently, like you actually had to have proof of vaccination to get in some public places where it's treated much more seriously. And for me, I don't know like what the common experience is across the United States, but I've seen enough to recognize like what we've had in Florida has been very, very unique in that we haven't had nearly the same level of restriction of the rest of the country, though I self-quarantined for a vast majority of the last couple of years.
I was taking a poop earlier.
Everybody poops.
I was taking a poop at work earlier. I had to go to a different bathroom because every time I want to poop at like around 10 a.m., the cleaning lady's in the bathroom I go to, so I gotta go elsewhere. So
Nah, you just go in there and you assert dominance.
It's weird. Her cart's in front of the door. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So I go to another floor and I go start pooping. As I'm pooping, these two dudes come in, and already they sound like they're like in depth, deep in a conversation. And they come in, they're saying stuff like, yeah, she actually wants to go get the booster. It's crazy. She's gonna get the booster. I mean, people are dying from getting those, you know? And the guy's like, yeah, it's bullshit. We really need some more leadership, better leadership in this country. We had it, and now it's just gone now. And the first dude's like, yeah, I don't know. It's like they're in there just talking that shit, and I'm just trying to do my thing, and I'm sitting there like,
please tell me you just fucking like ripped one.
I did not.
And then you gotta drop a line. You can't put a mask on that.
Or just, sorry, I just dropped the Trump. Watch him go fucking ballistic.
Starts shaking the door. Talk about sassy bitches. That's the king of them right there. So for me, I've had a very unique experience the last couple years, for sure. When it first started and the whole lockdown thing was happening, I was off work for an entire month. I was locked up in the house. Me and Kira were taking it very, very seriously, and we still do.
Yep.
But we were taking it very seriously. We were going to the grocery store. We would make sure to get, pretty much just what we weren't doing the panic buying stuff. Like, even though everybody else was, we were still just getting like what we needed to go through the next week. And we were masked up. We had gloves, like the I don't know, like the black gloves that you would wear for like your cooking. Like you see a lot of the chefs wear them.
Yeah.
We were wearing those, and we would throw them away after every doing the whole thing. And I think, at least at that time, most people here in Memphis, not all, but I would say a vast majority, were doing the same, taking it seriously. Some, I'll say a lot of people obviously going through and hoarding everything. I've still gone into homes now that still have, I don't know, 15, 20, like 18 packs of paper towels and toilet paper stacked up in a bonus room somewhere that they still have not gone through. Yeah. And it just, obviously, when I see that, it changes. They could be the nicest people in the world, and then when I see that, it changes my perception of that person indefinitely. So, anyways, we go through the whole thing, but my unique experience has been that after that month, when there was a lot of people who were able to switch to remote, I was not. It was, and not only was it not remote, I am going into strangers' homes. And so there was a lot of really interesting conversations and interactions because you had people on both sides of that spectrum. You had the people who literally you walk up and you have to argue with them to put a mask on while we're in the home. And then you literally had the opposite of people, and I'm not joking, I had to yell at somebody to stop spraying me in the face and body with Lysol as we were walking in the door.
What the fuck?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Like, were they just trying to do the area, or were they like held it up to you and doing it?
Aiming it at us, going up and down as we're walking, like we're walking through a fucking car wash.
Yeah.
Of Lysol. And I'm not wearing like glasses or anything, so that like it's getting in my eyes, and I'd have to tell like, stop.
Yeah.
That is not good.
Did that work?
Yeah, most of the time. And they're like, oh, just make sure. And then you'd have to go through the... Anyways.
Like, bro, you can't spray chemicals on a random... Like, I don't know what the fuck you're spraying.
Right.
You'd be dousing me in aerosolized gasoline. I don't
hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, spraying it all over me. Let's go.
Maybe.
Be super
more worms
human.
For you. Did you have any clients who got offended or pressured you for you to not wear a mask?
Dude, yes. And so we are, I say trained. I'm already pretty good at navigating those situations already. but there are trainings that we have and still take that are sort of guidelines to get through those types of situations. Whether
They
it's
train for that.
we have
Give
to
guidance.
yeah, we have to.
That's pretty cool.
I've had again both. I've had someone literally screaming and yelling in my face, no mask, about how it's all a hoax and I'm not gonna put no damn mask on. This is my house, and and again I respond, yeah, absolutely, you absolutely have that right, but at the same time, I also don't have to be here. I can cancel your order, I can refund you your money, and we can go our separate ways. No, you're gonna do. It's like, okay, well, if that's the case, these are the ground rules, right? And I understand you hate it. I get it. I don't like it either.
Yep.
It sucks. It's hot. I'm like sweating under there while I'm doing all this crap. Like, I don't like it either, right? But I do it because the science says that it works. I don't care what 5 fucking doctors say online that it doesn't, and that you're breathing your own carbon dioxide. That I don't care, right? That's stupid, and you're stupid. But then you'd have the other side of it where they've got 6 masks on and spraying me with Lysol while I'm going through. But to answer your question, yes, I've had arguments in just about every sort of scenario you could imagine. Every single one.
That's super awkward.
And
I
now,
don't think I'd ever want to do that.
And now there's definitely, so I say all that to get to this point. What started off with everybody taking it very seriously and being very cautious about everything, has now, that atrophy has set in at this point, and people are.
You mean like people don't care?
Right, or it's not as I don't know. It doesn't like scare them, right? As when it first came out and people were being super cautious and everything. And I've found that in myself as well. I'm having to actively be like, okay, I'm vaccinated. I'm going into this store. Do I need a mask? Yes. I'm going to wear a mask still. Yes. It's like in my brain, I'm like, it's just worn me down. And I think that's a general consensus that's also going, even with the new Omicron strain. And of course that could change as it, inevitably spreads around the country. But, I would say, I don't remember the last time I've been in a house. It's been months since I've been in someone's house and they were wearing a mask. And most of the time we'll get you don't have to wear that in here, hon. You don't have to do it. And it's like, okay, I appreciate it, but and most of the time that's followed up with, we've been vaccinated, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we still have to do this. So I think that, and when I've gone out to grab food to pick up, there are tons of people. There's not really, at least in Tennessee or Memphis, there's not a lot of. You'll see the sign on the front of the door, wear a mask. And then you go in and fucking nobody's wearing one,
Mask, yeah.
And you get that look like, the fuck are you doing wearing a mask? Do
you still have to tell people to wear them when you go into their houses every time?
We no longer have to enforce that.
Oh.
But we absolutely do.
Have you left somewhere now when like if they're coughing and they're not wearing a mask, even though they don't have to wear one now?
I haven't been in a situation where they were coughing, where it was to the point of where it was concerning.
I got the itis.
Right. Like, that's one of those, dude, especially at the height of it. It's like if you were out somewhere at the grocery store or something and you fucking sneezed, like it felt like a herd of gazelles just like looked at like you're a fucking lion, right?
To less reaction.
Right. So it's. I haven't run into a situation where it's caused me any concern for sure, and I think there may have been one, but it wasn't. It was just, again, it was kind of in my head, but.
So overall, COVID sucks. We're all kind of over it. Either, you're wearing masks and getting vaccinated or you're not.
But it ain't over us.
It ain't over us. Yeah, and I mean, there's going to be additional variants, right? Like the reason why there's so many variants that we're detecting is because the technology to do genome sequencing cheaply, quickly, and everywhere hasn't existed except for the last couple of years.
Like, I can't ever hear the word genome without thinking of Metal Gear. Never gonna happen again.
Wife's going to bed. Good night, wifey.
Night, wifey.
Bye, Kara.
Bye.
Did she say bye back?
She said bye. Goodbye.
Okay, good.
Bye, everybody.
Suspect.
Sus.
Sus.
Yeah, I'm sick of it. I'm over it. I'm already a very secluded person. Me and Kira both are. Like, even before this, we didn't go out and do much, but even every now and again, we enjoyed, going to a movie or, like you said, going bowling or something. And we just haven't.
Yeah.
Which sucks for those industries, for those businesses. I think we are past in terms of how do I say it? Like regulations and the rules around COVID and stuff like that. I think we're past the line.
Yeah, I don't think it will ever be as strict as it was initially.
Probably not.
And I don't think, honestly, even if it got real bad again like it was at first, I don't think this country could survive another lockdown. It would be, we already had a fucking insurrection.
Yeah, we did.
And it, at the point where everything is now, if they were to try to lock down the country again, even if it was a bipartisan thing, I mean, for fuck's sake, Donald Trump got booed at his own rally for talking about, getting vaccinated and all this stuff. There would be more riots. There would be more storm this, storm that.
Political COVID.
It would break America. Well, I mean, we're already broken, but it would absolutely shatter it, I think, if they tried to do some shit like that again.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening.
Because Mo rights.
Mo rights.
Even though the fact we live, like the Joker says, we live in a society.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that meme.
It's so cringy, isn't it?
But we do, though.
The whole thing. Yeah,
well,
you participate in one.
Yeah, COVID. That's the thing. It'll be a thing for.
So we didn't get your input on it though, Matt. How are you?
We did.
Well, I mean, we talked about your experience, but how do you feel about the Omicron?
It's being, I think, over to nobody's surprise. I think it's getting more dire media attention than it probably deserves based on the initial science of it. Like, there's going to continue to be new variants, and I don't know that that's like well accepted. Because again, we're at a point in a technological age where we've never been able to measure these type of variations and diseases that have existed before, like Spanish flu, swine flu, bird flu, pandemics in their own right that probably had multiple variations, but we just didn't have the technology to measure those things. So now it sounds like every time there's a new mutation, it's like a repeat of a whole new epidemic, and that's kind of how the media makes it out to sound, when it's not. It's different versions of COVID, but like this is a natural process that occurs for every viral disease. And as Bakamus is saying in chat, like, this is a much more mild version, which I think would have been better to lead with on a media stage, to say new variant, science says it's less mild, keep an eye out, be cautious, those types of things. But it's like,
do you know what plaguing is, Red?
Yeah, I've played it. I have it on my phone.
This form of COVID is like the one where they infect everybody. It does like nothing because they're just building up points to where it like causes brain hemorrhaging later.
Yeah. For all we know, it's got a 3-month fucking incubus period, and then just brain aneurysms everywhere, and everybody falls over and turns
Christ,
into zombies.
don't even put that out there. But so,
No, but
like,
yeah,
as,
I think it's
as,
just been. I think Omicron's just been overblown.
as somebody who has kids, and getting into that time period where it's time to go to school.
Yep.
Like, how do you approach that?
So, I mean, especially with school, like, I feel like for most, if not everyone, getting COVID is an inevitability. I'm definitely worried for my children because my oldest was premature, and he's had RSV, which is a respiratory viral infection. And when he's had RSV, he's had severe breathing problems when he's
Did they
had
force
that.
masks in school?
No, not in Florida. In fact, in Florida, the governor threatened to pull state funding from schools who enforced mask mandates because Florida. But yeah, so my concern is great for my older child because obviously COVID typically presents with severe respiratory issues, and if my older son gets that, it could potentially pose a pretty serious problem based on what we've seen with his reaction with RSV. But it sort of feels like an inevitability. I'm keeping an eye out on obviously the younger and younger testing that they're doing on the vaccinations. A neighbor of mine who's a nurse for whatever weight that provides, she's putting her son who's a similar age into a trial group for younger vaccinations, which is interesting. So seeing what goes there. From what I've read around the science of it all, it's just that it's like a fifth of the dosage and provides the exact same immune response.
For a child? All he needs is a
in
fifth?
children. Yeah.
The fuck? So an
So
adult needs... What that how the fuck's that? Is that a weight thing? What, or is that a...
Yeah, it's just a size
Body
thing.
mass, I guess.
Yeah, it's just a body mass thing, right? So like, I don't know what the dosage
Weird.
is, but if adults need 5 milliliters, kids only need 1 milliliter, but get the same immune response,
What
which
about,
makes
like,
me
a
feel
tiny
better
woman?
about it.
There's like 110-pound ladies, what, so like they need half a dosage technically?
Well, no, I think they could have half a dose. The science is that you can have more, it doesn't hurt you,
Oh, okay.
right? But but less efficacy at a lower dosage depending. So the buckets of adults get X dosage, you're fine, good to go. Where children, the concern is just how does it affect development in a way that adults don't have to have concern for, where if you have a much lower dosage, the potential is much less as a result. So I feel better about that science. Yeah. I'm keeping an eye out on it.
I've got something here actually.
What you got?
I got something here. Yeah, for some media. So
bring it up. Bring it up on the Titantron.
I'll pull this up, Jamie.
Pull this up, Jamie.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, I see it.
I got to hit all my buttons here.
Florida #1. Yeah.
That number below. Otherwise, I'll see you in 3 weeks for your second dose. No need. What? I already got all 5 of them. But sir, you only need 2. You think I'm stupid? My blood is now flowing with the power of all 5 companies: Pfizer, J&J, AstraZeneca, some sketchy off-brand company, and now Moderna. Sir, I think you need to go to a hospital. Why be immune? My injecting hand! When you can be invincible.
Guards, get him! Levanta las manos!
Learn more about the COVID-19 vaccine by visiting your local pharmacy or by clicking the link below.
So you get powers where you get all of them, huh?
I'm kind of interested if there ends up being any studies about mixing and matching vaccines.
So what made me think of that video today specifically was, well, let me not play that again. What made me think of that is one of my clients today. We just making small talk while we're working. She got stuck in Australia. at the kind of beginning of like the vaccine thing, and everything was kind of weird with travel. So she was stuck in Australia. I don't remember if she said how long she was there, but she ended up getting the AstraZeneca vaccine, and through one way or another, she was able to get back to the U.S. And but there was there was some weird shit around that here. So she ended up getting the Pfizer one as well. I believe it was Pfizer. It was one of the double shot ones.
But not as a booster, just as a second shot to the first round.
No. Well, maybe. I don't know. We didn't specify that. But basically she did have both. And in my head I was like, "Oh fuck, we got Grandma Thanos over here."
He's walking around. She got two of the stones.
Like, don't slap me. Don't force choke me.
Oh man.
Yeah. And of course, every time the mask debate comes up, I just think about Bill Burr on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And he said it best, like, and I haven't watched it in a while, so I'm gonna take my best stab at it, but essentially told Joe Rogan, we're both dumbasses here. I'm not a doctor, you're not a doctor, so I'm not gonna sit here and try to tell you essentially one way or another. If I look on and they're saying science says mask, okay, I fucking wear a mask. All right, that's all I need to know. I turn the TV off for another week.
Right. Yeah.
That's the best way to fucking put it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a ton of people who still don't believe that. I did the research. I know better.
I saw a Facebook video. Do your research on Facebook.
I'm getting depressed over COVID. I want to talk about something else.
Good.
Let's get depressed about something else.
To your table.
You know what?
We've got to find some better topics to not fucking piss ourselves over.
I see what's coming up, and I'm going to need a refill on my beverage.
Good. Go do that.
It's a surprise for me. I already forgot.
There's a surprise for you?
It is a surprise for me. What are we talking about next?
Oh, well, you'll find out.
Are you going to wait for him? No, fuck that. Just tell me.
Secret. Chat needs to give me a lightning round topic. You can ask us anything, and we'll give you our hot take. Lightning round topic.
Event with the Endwalker.
Valhalla said we should have. It is a hot dog a sandwich. We've addressed that on this channel.
Yeah, it's definitely not one. We've been over that.
Yeah, because the bread is connected, it is not a sandwich.
Also, but that's another easy one because you can appreciate that on everybody. Whereas boobs, you can only appreciate that on some people.
Is that true?
Yeah, some people don't like, you got a real, muscular man. You can't look at his chest and be like, oh, look at that chest. It's just a fucking...
Yeah, he's a muscular man. He's got big muscular boobs.
If he's wearing a shirt, I mean, no, you can't tell that, right?
Yeah, if he's got a nice fitted shirt and he's working out, doing a lot of chest, and he's got nice boobs.
No one would ever think that way. Nobody thinks that way.
It's cereal soup. So, butter boobs, me and Jamie both say butt.
For different reasons.
For different reasons? Because Jamie says butt because it can be universally appreciated on every person.
Mm-hmm.
But boobs cannot be. I disagree. I believe boobs can be enjoyed on every person. And he's saying like a big muscular man, you can't enjoy those. And I'm like, no, obviously.
It'd just be like his like six pack and chest. You wouldn't say boobs at that. I need Moose on this. Moose?
The man tits.
What do you think?
I agree. I think I agree with Matt here.
Yeah. What's the next topic? Y'all are fucking crazy.
The cereal soup. We've also addressed the cereal soup.
This is BS.
And yes, it is soup. We went through a lengthy discussion. Logic says cereal is soup.
Okay, you motherfuckers, listen right now. Okay, if there's like
here, I'll put out a poll.
A huge dude, and he's got some real man tits going on. You tell me there's a universe where you'd appreciate that?
I'm saying someone would.
Anyone would appreciate. Some people like toenails that are like 8 feet long. I mean, anyone will appreciate anything. But this specifically is not like.
Yeah, I mean,
no one would ever say, "Damn, look at the tits on that guy." No one says that.
Is it necessary that they use the terminology tits versus like chest or pecs?
Well, okay, let's back up then. When you say boobs or butt, be specific. What are you referring to?
The anatomy of this, where there are nipples.
I'm looking at you right now. There's nothing there. I can only look at your ass. I couldn't even judge your chest.
I can't make
See,
this
now
poll.
you're being racist against flat-chested people of all genders.
Yes, you're difficult.
I can't make the poll. It won't let me. It's against guidelines to make that poll.
I will make it. New poll. Booties? No, not booties or boobies. We're talking about, can chesticles be appreciated?
Welcome to the rest of the stream where we figure out how to
genders.
circumvent the guidelines to make this fucking poll.
There's, I mean.
All right, polls out.
If you're looking at we're gonna go just with the basic genders here. We're gonna go male, female. Okay, what you would normally expect as of right now. So if you're
Poll is up.
If you're looking at a woman and a man side by side, looking at a woman's chest and a man's chest, I think the natural draw for a woman's chest would be the round things that are on them. I think the natural draw for a man's chest would 99% of the time be the physique of them.
The chest is
so not the round things. You guys, and I need to know right now, and I need us to know on this.
And there's at least
disagree with that.
There's at least 2 women in the chat, and I would appreciate their perspective of do they appreciate a nice chest on a man?
That's vague. That's too vague. That's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're talking about. Boobs or butts is specifically what you brought up. So I need to know side by side, if you look at a naked woman and naked man, when you look at the naked man's chest region, would you ever say, "Oh, nice boobs"?
That's not the argument.
You said boobs or butt. Did you not say? Did you say boobs? or butt?
No. We agreed on butt over boobs, and then we got into the argument of
you guys got into the weeds.
That butts can be appreciated on everyone. You said boobs cannot be appreciated on everyone, and I disagreed with that point. Boobs can be appreciated.
So in that case,
everyone.
okay, you know what? You're right. In that case, we need to extrapolate our terminology on the word boobs. So we'll start. So you tell me first. What are boobs?
So you believe that boobs must be fatty deposits in the chest, where I am saying general physique of chest.
Okay.
A chest can be appreciated on all genders.
I would argue that boobs would be a slang term here and not an actual defining region. So
this is the most intense engagement we've had
in this country, at least. I can't say for any other. Boobs is almost universally known as the fatty deposits on a woman's chest. Whereas if you're talking about a man's chest, I would argue that they would use the term more like pecs or something in that area, and never boobs. Or at least if it is boobs, you are the 1% of that 99.
Bakamus is pretty strong ass game.
We're past the butts. We know the butts are better. Okay, we actually agree with that.
We're along there. Yeah.
And boobs, you get now you're being gross. You're just being gross now, Bakamus. But is my definition there accurate? You guys think, or would you argue against that, Red?
I think defining boobs as purely fatty deposits within the chest is too specific. I don't think it gives it the proper
put some respect on that.
I don't think,
but it's a slang term. That's not even a real word, is it?
I don't think it gives it the range that it really carries.
Where's the switch? Oh, I don't know.
I'm Sweden over here.
I don't know if Quinn is still in the chat. If Quinn's in the chat, she can say if
check my backpack.
Male boobs are appreciated or not.
Boob is actually a word that identifies like kind of like a dummy. That's what that word means, right? Like, look at that guy's a boob, like, right?
Yeah, I mean that's correct too. Boob's also a bird of some sort, of the avian variety.
A foolish or stupid person or an embarrassing mistake is the word boob.
Can you look this up on Urban Dictionary?
Urban Dictionary, we can't do that. You know that's all inaccurate. They like to find stuff like donkey punch. They make
Google defines boob as a woman's breast. Then boob must be disqualified from any gender comparison.
Wait. What did you just say? Boob is, Google identifies as something else?
Salaval says Google defines boob as a woman's breast.
Bullshit. I just typed in boob definition on Google and it gave me a foolish or stupid person, or in British, an embarrassing mistake. I performed a boob.
Maybe it's like Matt's bullshit friggin' explanation of how our phones don't really listen to us. Maybe it's listening to this conversation right now and showing you the results that you want to see. You fucking freaks.
He's trying to aggress on you, Red. He's trying to get you right now.
I'm just saying Red's a part of the system, all right?
I'm just trying to get the you won't last 5 minutes video game ads in my Facebook feed by just talking about boobs a lot.
All I'm saying.
I like those ads. No, I don't like those ads.
Got Peter Griffin doing disgusting things. The next topic is
look, all I'm saying is Matt is he's the real life version of Agent Smith from The Matrix.
You think so? He didn't have that level of powers.
That's what he wants you to think.
I mean, he could.
If I had that level of powers, would you know that I had that level of power?
Nah, you wouldn't know you had that level
you
of powers.
Know it.
You just turn other people.
Bro, I've been red pilled. Let me tell you. All right, I know.
JFK's coming back.
Dude, he is. I'm going out there next week to wait for him.
He might be in the Cowboys game right now.
I feel like we didn't get any conclusion on our boob talk, but I'm willing to move on if you want.
I feel like that's a war of attrition. I don't feel like there's ever gonna be a finite. You guys are never just gonna shake hands and be like, I agree.
No, of course not, because I'm right.
There we go.
See how this Cowboys game is going. 13-10, we're up.
13-10?
Yeah.
Tell me the next topic. Tell me.
So we are gonna have a little chitty chat about the modern workforce.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of layers to that onion, right? There's the minimum wage argument, the fight for 15 that's been going on for so many years that inflation would put that around the fight for 22, I believe.
Yeah, I was to say still not enough. Still not enough.
That we work for 40 hours every week of our lives from the time we're 18 to the time we're 60, 65.
You're lucky if you work 40 hours.
And then we get to, enjoy life if we saved enough money and if the market treated our retirement accounts favorably, if we have the benefits and volume of paycheck to put money away for savings. Because Social Security is very unlikely to be a thing when we hit retirement age.
Just pull up your bootstraps, dude. What are you doing?
And then there's that whole piece, right? Inflation has been over 6% or over 5% for the last several months. It was over 6% recently. Wage has been stagnant. The federal minimum wage hasn't gone up in over a decade. I think it's closing in on 2 decades. The income again has stayed stagnant since about the mid 80s. Production has gone up like tenfold, where prior to Reagan, income tended to go up pretty corollary with production. So there's a lot of things, a lot of pressure, and we're in a very weird period again with COVID, where a lot of people were laid off, had hours reduced, their jobs changed completely. A lot of people got laid off. There was obviously federal benefits for quite some time. Those have ended. There was the rent moratorium that's ended. And from student loans, right? Student loans about to come back. The promises that we were made that student loans would get forgiven was totally written off as soon as Biden got the vote. He did not follow up on those promises whatsoever. And we're at a weird point in unemployment now where jobs are saying nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to come and work. They just want to sit at home. Where
hey, they're accurate.
Yeah,
I was say, yes, I want to sit at home. I'd love to.
Yeah.
I don't, but I wish I could. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and unemployment says not only is unemployment at it's not at an insane level, it's up there, but the more interesting stat is over the last 2 months, people have continued to quit their jobs proactively. So not even just being let go or being fired or downsized, people are quitting their jobs in record numbers. And a lot of it is because of the pressures that are coming with the productivity, overworking, just general dehumanized behavior. I'm very fortunate.
And let it be contrasted against the fact that most of these companies are experiencing record profits.
Yep. Record profits. Billionaires got, I think, like 70 billion or 700 billion dollars, something like that, richer in the last year.
Have they? Damn.
Yeah. So pretty wild wage and income and wealth gap issues in this country that are going on.
You think the minimum wage should be $20 or higher?
I think the minimum wage going up is sort of a necessity now. I don't think it fixes the problem. I think the problem is in the cost of things. Housing being the primary issue. I think housing and rental prices have gotten out of control. And I completely get the argument that if, income goes up to $20 an hour, everything else will go up as a result of that. I don't think it's as one-to-one as people who make that argument make it, because increased income doesn't necessarily mean an increased cost of goods. But it does mean an increased cost of doing business. But I mean, it's simply like we see the wealth income gap. The people at the top are making more money because they're taking more share of the productivity. It's a simple, they gotta be less greedy. Shareholders have to be less greedy. They've got to
they get less money.
They have to take less profit. That's the short of it.
Yeah,
that's the only solution to this, is they have to be okay taking less profit.
Without some sort of regulation on the federal level, that will not happen. Never will you.
Want that?
What?
Would you want that? Would you want the federal mandate to come out about wages and whatnot?
I mean, that's a complicated, like, complex thing that would have to
extremely
done,
that's why I asked it.
So to answer your question, if you're giving me a yes or no question, the answer is no.
No, it's not a yes or no. Right. It's definitely not a yes or no.
You asked it as a yes or no. Do you want that to happen?
For me, the regulation would come in the form of tax reform.
Yes. And so in the current, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here. Well, I guess if there is a place to do it, it's now. But like, if you're going to ask somebody, especially someone who is already extremely wealthy, if they would like more or less money, that's the
same answer every time.
You're going to get the same answer every time. So without something in place that I don't want to necessarily say changes the rules of the game, but essentially that, nothing will happen. But the problem, at least I believe, is that there are a lot of people who make the rules who are also benefiting from them being the way that they are right now. So money out of politics is a big thing. Tax reform is a big thing.
Yep.
I'd say those are the two big pillars right there, holding everything up: money in politics and tax reform.
Corporations can make unlimited donations. I forget the
Citizens United.
Yeah, that ruling completely fucked American politics.
Yeah. That's essentially stating that. I mean, to be just blunt about it, money talks, and money. Somebody the old Schoolhouse Rock cartoons, and it's like, how is a bill made? And they're sitting on the steps of Washington and stuff. Somebody made a meme that it was chef's kiss. How is a bill made? And then it's just a close-up of somebody handing money over. Like, that's what it is now. And so when you have the people making the rules who are also benefiting from it, and also, in cooperating with people who would also benefit from things staying the way they are, you create a system of, nothing will change. Nothing will change unless something radical happens. It's upsetting, to say the least. And then to have it framed as though, this generation, Gen X, and everything after it, they're just lazy. They haven't put in the work. They don't have the work ethic. They don't. It's just bullshit. I'm like blanking out right now, but
I don't know if people could actually, if I just talk about minimum wage and stuff going up. I don't even know like how they would approach that, because even if say like places like say McDonald's, for instance, there people have been arguing they want like 25 an hour for McDonald's or 40 an hour for McDonald's, and say that does happen. If that happens, the clear thing, the thing I think that's going to happen there is some people win and some people lose, and the people that lose are the people that get laid off because we're paying everyone 25 an hour right now. We're not going to just give everybody this. They're going to cut people so their profits don't get hurt too much. So some people get that wage and some others don't. So a lot of people just end up without jobs at that point. Yeah.
Well, why do you think they do that? A lot of time it's to make sure that we maximize our profits and that we look good on the next shareholder meeting and show that we have increased the value of our company for our shareholders. So yeah, of course. But if you try to look at that from the perspective of, and again, we live in a capitalist society. This is not something that will happen probably in our lifetime. But if you look at that instead of saying, let's wring out every last fucking cent of piece of sweat of people that we have to increase this. If we're gonna increase the minimum wage, we're gonna wring every little cent out of everybody we have working for us, so that we make sure, like you said, that we counteract the loss from increasing these wages. And what happens in that, and what I've personally seen in that exact scenario, is like you said, people were laid off. The people who remained are now in charge of all of the previous people's jobs, right? So they're being worked harder, and therefore getting burnout. They're quitting actively, and then it's just they're just churning through people. And the other part of it is, they look at the entire structure of how they pay their employees in the company. So, for example, instead of having instead of looking at it as a meritocracy and saying you did really well, you were an extremely profitable employee, we're going to give you X amount percent raise this year because you were extremely valuable to the company. Instead, what a lot of companies have moved to is saying, you know what? You get 3%. You get 3% raise across. Doesn't matter. Were you 600th in the company? Were you number one in the company? But guess what? Number one gets a pizza party. Good for him. Wow. Thanks, Jeff.
Pizza party. Yeah.
You're essentially setting yourself up. You're creating a system where people are going to do, thank you, Office Space here, just enough not to get fired. Right? So your shareholder shit may be going up, but the quality of your product is going down, and the quality of life of your employees is going down. And under a capitalist society, guess what? All that other shit, all those other metrics, turnover, employee happiness, benefits, all of that stuff, it doesn't fucking matter as long as the shareholder stock increases?
That actually brings me to a dangerous question.
Yeah.
What type of society would you prefer over capitalism?
I think capitalism is a fine economic policy on paper. The problem comes from corruption, right? It's late stage capitalism, right? There's a whole subreddit mentality associated to it.
Easily comes with it.
Right, and that's the idea, right? In a capitalist setup, you are incentivized to do shitty shit to have competitive advantage and to gain, in a zero-sum game, to not be the zero, right? And that's the idea where government is supposed to step in and regulate, but then government gets bought out, especially when corporations can place unlimited money on their horse that they want to back. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the opportunity to work harder, or the opportunity to be more successful, right? To be more skilled than my peers, to work. Yeah, it may be harder, maybe not harder, or or I just had a better strategy, whatever it is. I appreciate the opportunity to earn more and go do more. But I think where we're at today is that opportunity is gone. And I think that's the frustration that we feel in the workforce, is that regardless of how hard you work, regardless of how smart you work, regardless of how much you produce, the opportunity to have an enriched life has very quickly gone away for a lot of people. Now, there's edge cases. I consider myself extremely lucky in my career, where I've gone up sort of the traditional corporate ladder. I'm now a first line manager, at a tech company that was a startup that went public, and I'm very fortunate to have found success in that. But I also recognize, like, I am potentially one in a million who have that story these days, because the opportunity to just move around and up and have your effort and results, because both are important, right? Anybody can put forth effort, but ultimately results are what matter. But even when you have results, it's become increasingly tough to be rewarded for those things.
And
Actually, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and from a corporate viewpoint, right? When the only metric that matters is increasing profitability for their shareholders, right? Then things like, benefits, paid time off for all employees, maternity, paternity leave, those types of things are looked at as, no, we simply cannot afford those things, while still maintaining maximum profit and maximum growth year over year, at all costs. Whereas instead of taking, and call me a fucking communist, socialist, whatever you want to say, but taking some of those profits, right, and investing it back into your fucking workers, into your laborers, into your employees, and increasing, essentially give them a seat at the table, right? Not every job, not every company has to be, run in some democratic fashion, but to at least have a voice at the table to have some input on these things, would be huge. But that's not the case. It's most of these companies are run, in a very authoritarian way, and you're not going to see an increase, I don't think, in workers' satisfaction with their jobs, and with their life. You talk about work-life balance, and having PTO and parental leave and things like that, unless there's some sort of major change and these companies are held accountable to do this stuff.
That's why you treat them like stepping stones. And then you go start your own Twitch channel and do podcasts and D&D shows.
But I think that's part of it too, that the corporate world hasn't realized, like, there's so many avenues of income generation now that don't involve getting a bi-weekly paycheck. And like, there are options for people to go and do, like, just flip stuff on the internet. Like, people, like, it's a whole thing for people to go to like Ross or whatever outlet store, find things on the cheap, and then flip them on eBay for 3 times as much, or go to garage sales, buy them,
dude.
and flip them for
I
10
mean,
times as much.
You know, check out my OnlyFans, Moose Raw.
Yeah, got feet pics.
I got
Actually,
feet, I got more feet pics.
I don't know enough about socialism to have a strong opinion on that. I only know about capitalism.
But you know, if you make $750 an hour and you work 80 hours a paycheck, that's $600 before tax, right? You're bringing home 400, 420, blaze it, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
Over 2 weeks, you can go do a lot and make $400 real quick.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what you were getting at with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's too much time for too little money compared to what you could potentially do otherwise.
I mean,
100%.
So think about this too, right? So you were talking about $15 an hour annually, and this is assuming 40-hour work week, no more, no less. That is an annual income of $31,200.
30K a year.
30 grand a year is $15 an hour.
Not asking for the world.
Right.
It's not being greedy.
Yeah,
that's
we should be able to reach that.
it's
Maybe.
that I would say in most, especially in larger cities, that's not a livable wage.
No.
Not when rent is $1,600 a month.
So a little unknown story, when I was in college, so this would have been, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago, I interviewed for a job as a community manager for Deep Silver.
What's that?
It's the video game developer who made Dead Island.
That game sucked.
That game sucked. They also made...
Get your foot in the door, though.
But yeah, so like, this was all happening over Twitter DMs. I was talking with the hiring manager, and she was like, "Yeah, you gotta live in San Francisco for $55K."
Yeah. Oh,
Which-
you mean be homeless?
Yeah, which $55K, right? At the time, me and GD were working at GameStop. I was making $850 an hour as a key holding manager. You know, which came out to, I don't know, $23,000 a year. I think was.
I was making less than that.
Yeah. So 55,000 coming out of college, you're like, holy fuck. And then you go and look at, what's average rent prices in San Francisco. And that was 10 years ago.
I was to say,
more than.
it's shot up since then.
And at that time, like, dream job, what sounds like a decent paycheck, I had to be like, that doesn't seem workable unless I get 4 roommates in a studio apartment. And I had to say no. It's wild.
It may have been a good
So
thing.
I
don't.
I don't think that there is, so to answer your question, Jamie, I don't think there's any one system that is perfect. There is no perfect system. Socialism, far from it. Capitalism, far from it. You know, if we look at, you know, what's the most logical outcome for America, right? What is, even in, you know, a best case scenario, America's not abandoning capitalism. Not at this point. Not unless everything explodes, and, you know, so we're here. So
yeah, America will burn before capitalism goes away from America.
So what is the best case scenario for American workers, especially in the middle class, which is evaporating? So it's what we said. You make sure that everybody pays their fair share. That you eliminate as many of the, there's always going to be loopholes, but you eliminate as many as you can. You look, God damn it, I'm going to go on some kind of list or something. So if you look at companies or businesses who, I don't want to say it, who are unionized, right? The average pay, benefits, time off, everything for those businesses are markedly, noticeably better than those who are not. And as of right now, we are sitting in a time period which, and I see that look on your face because unions have been absolutely demonized over the last few decades.
Well, I mean, like, think police unions, you know?
Police unions are completely different. Completely different from what I'm talking about.
Are they? They protect the worker no matter what, right? Even if
I
they
think the
accidentally
difference
murder
with
an 8-year-old when they're shooting a gun.
The difference with
the difference with police unions is that they have a public accountability factor that isn't true with.
It's not there,
most
and
other employment options.
They protect their own no matter what, right? And that just goes for cops in general, right? And I've got friends who are police. I have family who are police, right? But cops who snitch on each other are let go promptly. If they'll find a way, right? They're fired. So there is already in the police, there is a culture of covering each other no matter what, right? So police unions and just unions in general are two completely different animals. What I'm saying is unions in general, they advocate for a fair work environment, I guess you could say, generally.
The big boy companies, union sounds like a good idea.
Right. But
medium and small, though.
Throughout the past couple decades, they've been absolutely demonized because guess what? When you take those profits and you start investing it back into your company or back into your workers, right? And let me be the boogeyman here, redistributing the wealth back to your employees that their labor has created for you. Your shareholders, they don't like that, right? So that's real bad for them, right? But my point is, at this point in time, where we're sitting in time right now, unions are at the lowest, bottom of where they've been in our lifetime and then some, right? And when you compare, again, non-unionized companies to unionized companies, it's a huge difference. You look at the whole thing with John Deere going on strike, right? I don't think they're unionized, right? But maybe they were. I'm not sure. But after that whole strike, when over 10,000 people went on strike about what exactly we're talking about, the company was making record profits for their entire company's history, and they were essentially giving them, oh, you guys can have a 3% raise. Congratulations, good job, go back to work. So
not even enough to cover inflation.
Not even enough to cover inflation, and so they had a problem with that. They went on strike, and guess what? After it was probably a month, because they tried to bring in the scabs to come in and fucking work while they're out and continue everything going. And on day one, they had a fucking ambulance show up to the factory because they were having people who were not trained on these machines to come in and try and work, to literally force the people who are striking to try and just make a better life, to make a better living, to come back and work for the bullshit contract that they were proposing, right? And every large company, every single one, Amazon especially, was outed recently. Somebody leaked one of, multiple of their little training videos. And dude, there are so many little trainings that say, if you hear people say the U word, if you hear people talking about this, you make sure to let HR know. You report that. You let them know that the people are talking about that, because
that's kind of weird.
Let me tell you why unions are bad. Target was another one that had one of these. You need to let us know, because here's why unions are bad. They don't do anything. You pay them a bunch of money, and they don't make a difference, and they're trying to just it's a smear campaign essentially against unions, because it's going to ultimately result in a better work environment for the employees. But you can not officially get fired for trying to try and unionize, but they, as it has been shown, will find a way. They will change your job up. Oh, you know what? You've got a you got the same quota, but we notice you don't need an assistant anymore. So you're going to need to do that by yourself. And essentially
Wait, hold up.
Yep.
So you said unions have been demonized, right? For the last decades or so?
Absolutely, yeah.
So is there any reason that is the case? Is there any good reason?
No. Well, I mean, depends on what your definition of good is.
So like, because right now, because I'm going to lay it out, the way you're the way you're talking about this is you're saying there is no logical or good reason whatsoever for unions to not exist.
Correct.
Which, if that was true, I don't feel like all these huge companies could have their thumb over everything so difficult. If it was wildly known that these were good things.
You are not getting enough credit, giving them enough credit then, because let me give you an example. There was an employee at a glass manufacturer. They were making windshields, essentially, or this particular person was making windshields. They tried to unionize, or they started to create, start the process of creating a union for that division, for that part of that company, that location of that company. And what happened ultimately is that, and I used that example a minute ago, her job was a 2-person job. So they cannot outwardly come out and say, you know what, you're not allowed to do that, you're out. So instead what they did is they had her goals, right, her metrics that she needed to hit remain the same. However, while her peers all worked in 2-person teams, they said, you know what, you're good at what you do, so we're going to put you're going to do the same job, but you're going to do it by yourself. And so what that ultimately resulted in, obviously, was her output went down, obviously, from going from a 2-person team to a 1-person team. And then guess who was written up for underperforming multiple times? And then guess who was let go for underperforming?
And that was because there's no union thing there to protect her from that.
Well, it's because she was trying to start a union, and they didn't like that.
Could a union not allow bad workers to stay where they are too?
Well, so the company is, if you have a union, the company is still allowed to have their, standards and practices in place. You can still say this is the minimum, right? If you're not doing your job, or if you're doing this, you can still be fired. It's not immunity from being fired. What is happening is they're negotiating with the company on you, the worker's behalf, to try and get you essentially a better contract. That is what a union is supposed to do.
Well, once it's created, but if it's already in position, right?
It's an ongoing negotiation.
It's an ongoing. It's ever changing, ever evolving.
Every
actually,
year.
You know what?
Right.
I think,
what are the new benefits? How much are we going to get a raise?
Right. And I think maybe a month or two ago, John Oliver actually did a great segment on unions. I would highly recommend checking that out.
Kim loves the John Oliver.
But yeah, I mean, when it comes to like the economy, what's interesting for me, besides Kim yelling, is so in business there's a concept known as leading indicators and lagging indicators. Leading indicators are measurements that anticipate an outcome. Lagging indicators are measurements that an outcome has happened. Right? So like the economy being fixed, there are welcome Richard Ross. We're talking about the current state of employment and employer relationships in the United States.
You just missed my rant.
Yeah, you just missed the rant. But yeah, I mean, like leading indicators here would potentially be like the minimum wage going up, universal benefits like maternity and paternity leave, healthcare, things like that. Where the lagging indicator is what's interesting for me, right? Because the lagging indicator of all of this being fixed has to include, like, just mathematically, it's not a matter of opinion, it's a matter of economic mechanics. profits have to go down quarter over quarter in order to reinvest in workers. And the richest people who have been getting richer have to get poorer. Like, those lagging indicators have to happen mechanically in order for this economic situation to be fixed. And for me, it's like, what's the scenario where that happens? Because I don't see that happening. We're
dooming.
Yeah, I mean, outside of like a global workforce exodus, which it feels like we're on the brink of, but I don't think will ever truly happen. What will make these titans of industry say, we're gonna give up some money here? I don't know that it happens.
Not without major change, for sure.
Yeah, there's no telling what that major change can be. Maybe eventually, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think enough people will unite to fight something like that.
Yeah, and tax reform again is like the most direct way I can think of to do that in a reasonable way. Amazon
tax reform, you mean like raising tax on the rich and
closing loopholes more than anything. Like,
if they'll donate to a certain place, then they can write off X, like that type of stuff.
Well, even
so,
like
especially in
money
large enterprise
stocks.
business, they have losses and they write losses off over the course of multiple years, which is why Amazon and Netflix paid $0 in federal taxes last year, and they've paid $0 in federal taxes. These are companies who make hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, right, annually, and pay $0. You paid more than Amazon paid in taxes last year. That's not right, and that's because
it makes me feel real great. Makes me feel good,
Right.
That I love to see multi-jillion-dollar corporations just thriving and making unbridled amounts of money, and it's good to see that they take that and really put it to good use with the Amazon workers literally having ambulances more or less parked outside of the fucking warehouses because they're not pumping the AC in the middle of summer. It's cheaper just to transport the peons back and forth to the fucking hospital.
They treat them bad.
Than it is to
real bad.
Or you know what? Fuck your bathroom breaks. Go pee in a bottle, bro.
I read about that too. It's really bad for Amazon places.
Yeah, for a lot of places right now.
But yeah, so I mean, taxation is just the most direct mechanic of saying take more money from rich people. I think the more complex question is, how does that then get redistributed? Because government historically does an incredibly poor job of money management and spending money. But the money has to flow down at some point. That's, again, mechanically the only way it gets fixed. I just have no idea how that'll be done.
And another piece to that, it's not just the rich, right, that are not paying their fair share. There are plenty of very wealthy people who are taxed very aggressively, depending on your tax bracket. When we're talking about the rich not being taxed, we're talking about, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos level rich, Koch brothers level rich. I mean, do you know what the difference between $1 million and $1 billion is?
$1 billion.
It's $1 billion. It's it's so hard to fathom how much $1 billion actually is, and we're talking about people with tens, dozens, hundreds of billions of dollars. If you tried your fucking hardest to spend it, it would not be possible. There's not enough to spend that much money on. And I think in any functioning society,
buy an NFT.
I don't see, right, get the Wu-Tang album, right? But
no, you can't get the Wu-Tang album.
It's gone, right?
Well, no, you're not. As a stipulation for it being created, it is not allowed to be sold until the year 2300.
Okay, awesome. Fucking it's all a scam.
What?
So I don't think in a functioning society you should have people that have that much money. It's an obscene amount of money.
It's interesting because if you go and look at tax brackets from the greatest growth era of an American history, between just after the Great Depression up until like the 1950s, 1960s, really up until Reagan became president and implemented a ton of terrible economic policies, the tax rate for the richest was 80-90%. Over $1 million, you were taxed almost all of it. And that created some of the greatest economic growth our country's ever seen.
I can fucking imagine. That's some wild ass tax rates.
Yeah. Now, I'm not advocating that. AOC is. But there's a middle ground there.
There's a middle ground there.
There's a middle ground there.
Because again, if you tax 50% of $100 billion, that's 50 billion with a B dollars.
Right.
So the million compared to the billion multiplied by 50. Again,
which
still an obscene amount of money.
So I found out this fun tax evasion mechanic that the ultra rich go through.
Oh, tell everybody.
Yeah, I'm telling you, here it is. Here's the
we'll
secret.
all be there one day. We'll all have a chance. I'm
just a millionaire who hasn't made it yet. That's all. Mm-hmm. So the ultra rich, whenever they're like, "Oh, I'm not gonna take a salary from my company," that's because they don't want to get taxed on a salary. So what they do is they're paid in stock, right? And then it's held as stock options or stock that they don't sell. But what they can do is take out a line of credit, an asset-backed line of credit on the stock's value. So let's say instead of making...
They get a loan, essentially. They get a loan based on their stocks.
Based on their stock's value. So instead of making $1 million, you get $1 million in stock. You don't sell it, so you don't pay tax on it. But you get $1 million as a loan. So now you have $1 million completely untaxed. And then you can go and do whatever with that $1 million to go and make money to pay the interest on that $1 million loan.
That's what old Daddy Musk does.
Until the $1 million is paid off. Now
that's what Musk did?
Yeah, that's what he does actively. He will openly say that. That's what he does.
Wow.
Yeah. So with that $1 million, you make $1 million, pay off the loan and the interest, and now you've made $1 million tax free.
That's
got him.
It's kind of weird, bro. It's a weird flex.
Yeah, I mean, the deeper I get into finance, there's all sorts of very wonky, complex mechanics that these guys go through to I mean, they jump hurdles to not give $1 to the American government.
Mm-hmm.
And people make careers out of that.
What's so frustrating, and this is coming from someone, I have a fucking Tesla, okay? I gave Elon a bunch of fucking money, right?
You bastard.
Daddy Elon.
I can separate the art from the artist, right? Elon didn't invent the fucking car. He didn't invent the electric cars. He didn't design the fucking Teslas, right? But he's the owner of the company, right? Whatever. Right. But what really gets under my skin, really gets under my skin, is how cavalier he is. And how he flaunts not paying the taxes and all of that, when his fortune that he made off of Tesla and similar companies, SpaceX as well, would not have been possible without government subsidies. So literally, you have the government who is saying, hey, we're going to subsidize a large percentage of the cost of your vehicles to the consumer. Cool, there you go. And then to turn around and be like, you know what? Fuck y'all, you ain't getting a cent.
Yeah, and now the U.S. government is giving Tesla specifically less tax breaks to consumers.
Right.
So like when you go and buy an EV, you get $12,500 in tax credit towards your tax return. Unless it's a Tesla, then I think you only get 6,000 or something like that.
Yeah, and I actually, when I bought mine, I got none. There was no tax credit when I got mine.
Wow.
So yeah, just the brazenness to be like, Yes, I will take all the government subsidies and build my fucking empire on top of them, and to turn around and throw up the middle fingers and say, I don't know, you guys a goddamn thing, is one of the most infuriating things I've ever seen in my life.
So, Elon Musk sucks?
Elon Musk sucks, dude. He's a sassy bitch, and he's a troll, and he's funny on Twitter, but goddamn. Fuck him, dude.
Everyone loved him like a year ago.
No. People still love him. People stan Elon Musk. They love that guy.
He's selling Cybertruck shaped whistles on his website for $40 a whistle.
Yeah, dude, get your whistle, bro.
You want to buy a $40 whistle?
I don't want to whistle. I'm all right on the whistle.
So
I actually don't like loud noises, ironically.
I know. Every time I yell, and I yell a lot, I see Jamie's face just like wince.
Did you get beat as a child?
No, I didn't get beat as a child.
Who hurt you?
I just don't like loud noises.
He yells.
Did you watch someone get beat, and because you watched them get beat and scream, now you're scared of being...
I went to a lot of concerts and sat next to the speakers.
Well, then you can't hear
as
anything.
a child. Yeah, you're goddamn right. In my right ear, I'm half deaf, I think. So yes, that is part of the
Do you have
problem.
tinnitus?
I do.
Isn't that when you hear the ringing?
Yeah.
Is it constant or is it just
Yeah.
random?
It's constant. Well, it could be. It could be either. It could be random.
It randomly happens to me. Like I'll just be sitting here and just chilling, and out of nowhere.
Now,
That's
let me
tinnitus.
ask you this: is it almost like a grenade goes off where you lose the hearing for a second and the ringing picks up, and then and then the volume slowly comes back up?
It's exactly that.
I get that too. And then bonus, I also when there's no like right now I can't tell, right? Because there's ambient noise. But if I am just laying in the dark, in the quiet, and there's no noise, I just hear a constant ringing. Period.
Oh, fuck
it
that.
doesn't ever stop. It never stops.
Ugh.
It never sleeps. It never tires. It never
Is there
quits.
medicine for that?
Nope. It's uncurable. It's just my life.
So you've just gotten used to it.
Yes.
It's for going. You went to all those concerts too, except you willingly wanted it cranked. You love that shit.
Turned his own
Yeah.
music up loud.
Now
I had to sit next to
I'm
some
paying
speakers
for it.
because I was on the side of the stage and my dad was playing. I didn't even want to fucking be there.
I desperately need to put a fan on the side of my bed.
have
Ren
a air
says when you
purifier
get a
plan.
random ringing, it's that frequency's swan song. You'll never hear that frequency again.
Really?
That
Maybe.
actually
That's some secret science if that's true.
Well-
Holy shit.
that actually I believe that's correct. It's like the constant ringing in my. So I am an on again off again music producer, and I work when I'm on. I work a lot in Pro Tools, and then there are other programs obviously that'll do this as well that are free, but you can pull up a signal generator, and in that signal generator you can sweep anywhere from essentially zero cycles, 0 hertz, all the way up to 10,000 hertz, 10K hertz. And there is a spot on there up towards the upper end of that frequency spectrum that when I hit it, it just disappears. Gone. Even though it's playing something, I can touch my speakers and feel the vibrations, but I cannot hear it.
Weird.
Yeah. It's
Not
awesome,
science.
dude. It's awesome. Love it. So yeah, jobs are good.
Yeah, things are going well.
Things are
Jobs are good, huh?
things are going terribly. Everybody, we are on fire. The alarms are going off. Yeah, it's all fucked. People are maximizing profits off of the labor force while squeezing them for every ounce of energy and time that they can. And nothing's being done to stop it, and there's not any change in the foreseeable future. So we're all doomed. Cheers, everybody.
Do you prefer to pay tips, or would you rather all food at restaurants increase by 50% and never pay a tip again?
Pay your fucking worker. No, dude, not even 50%. Pay them a fucking living wage, man.
Well, that's what they'd have to raise. The prices.
I'm just
Yeah,
asking
so-
the hypothetical. The which would you rather? Would
If
you
it's
rather
only
all food
if it's
be
only
50% more?
if it's only
And never pay a
50%
tip?
more, that's what, like $2 more? Like, no. That it would need to be like 800% more.
You know, a $12 burger is $18 in that scenario.
Oh, you're saying migrate the cost to the food.
Yeah. But 50%, where again 20% is meant to be standard. But I'm saying, you know, federal regulation comes out, can't tip anymore, so everybody raises restaurant prices by 50%. Would you prefer that, or would you prefer to tip?
I'll pay the 50%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I fucking hate tipping. I tip.
Are real annoying.
I tip very well. I hate doing the math. I don't like the math.
You'll pay a premium to not do math.
I'll pay a premium to not do math. Yes.
Just give me my receipt. I'll hand you my card. Let that be the transaction.
Yep. I say pay the servers a livable wage, abolish tipping, and if you still want to tip, great, fine, do it. We don't work on tips, but every now and again, guess what? Somebody's like, you guys are the shit. Here's $20, right? And every other year, somebody's like, here's $150, bro. Merry fucking Christmas.
You see it on Reddit and shit.
Dope. Right.
Yeah. Do y'all
So
tip
yeah.
to-go orders?
I do, and my wife hates it.
Dude, it depends. It depends on my experience. So most of the time, yes. Although, albeit I don't normally tip as much as I would if I was sitting there, right? But I do tip something, unless it's just been botched and it's a complete pain in the ass, right? But
if it's like a under $30 order, I'll toss $2 on. If it's over, I'll toss $3 on. That's it.
Right.
Your wife hates that?
Hates it.
And she's a former server.
Yeah, she's a former server and she'd give the to-go stuff. And she's like, yeah, like she will try to keep me in the car, and she wants to go in to grab the food so she can pay for it. So that way she won't pay the $2.
She'll save $2 or $3.
Yeah.
I don't know how a to-go tip could be justified, man. I tip. I used to just tip because it's on the piece of paper, and I did that forever until like it may have been like 6 or 7 years ago when I was like, okay, why am I tipping and how much? Everyone always says just do 20%, but isn't it about like the whole shebang? Like, did they bring drinks to me, or did I get one and then I get my other one till I was about to leave? Did they bring our food timely? Is the food cold? Did they give a shit if it was cold? There's so many factors like that went into. Okay, this lady was badass. How much is my meal? $12. Okay, well here's fucking $8 on top of it. Fuck yeah. Or wow, this meal sucked huge dick, and the server didn't even give a shit about anything. His meal was $12. I don't know. Here's $2.
Yeah,
but for to-go
and
orders,
my default. Shitty service 10, amazing service 30.
You can't weigh anything on a to-go order though. There's nothing to weigh.
No. Yeah.
Unless you're tipping the chef, which he never sees that money, right?
The chef ain't getting that. The cooks, cooks ain't getting that. No.
So So why are you tipping on your to-go order? Is my question.
Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably social anxiety more than anything, because if I just write a line or I put no tip on the receipt and I hand it back to them, here you go, then I feel like in that moment I look like an asshole.
Dude, they might send assassins after you. They've got your address.
That emotion. Yeah.
They'll fucking kill you, bro.
I gave up on that. I just sometimes, dude, I'll straight up draw the line just to be safe, because I only had it happen one time where more money was taken out.
There you go.
But I think I don't know. Either I've never really had a problem just not tipping or anything. Like, they're not weird about it. They don't like, oh, here's your food, and then go like, is they're handing it to me or some shit. You know.
I definitely think most people don't tip on to-go orders.
Yeah, I think it's.
And that I'm a better person for doing
same.
it.
I'm better than you. I look at my own.
It's true, Baca.
My own job the same way. It's like tipping is not required. It's not expected. It's appreciated if it happens, but it's not. I don't go into any situation expecting it.
Rev's got some good criteria. Was it ready when it arrived? Did you keep it hot? Did it include fork, spoons, chopsticks? Did they ensure you had everything before you left? Did they verify everything was correct?
Okay, so that's that. You know what? That's actually an all right list. That's a good judgment list.
That's a good take.
I'm weighing my Huey's to-go order. I was thinking of them specifically with this conversation in mind.
Huey's.
So when I go in their little side area, the lady's there. She's like, "Oh, hello, name." And I'm like, "Oh, Jameson." And then she looks to the side and either sees shit's just sitting there, Or she walks to the back for a moment, and then she comes back out, and she doesn't verify shit. She just hands me my bag, gives me a ticket, lets me sign it, and then I'll leave.
Yeah,
There's nothing there for me.
Yeah,
and I'll put like in my order, I love honey mustard sauce, so I'll put extra honey mustard. Never in my life has anyone verified if I've had extra honey mustard. Never. And I always have to look myself and be like, oh shit, could I get you can get another honey mustard to go? Every fucking time, anywhere I order that shit from. So there's nothing really to go off of there in those cases. But Buffalo Wild Wings would be another example. You know what they used to do? You two are probably familiar with it. They would. They're not that fucking bad.
Ever since Arby's bought them,
they're just
dude.
Applebee's with a sports theme.
Arby's bottom?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah,
I had no
weird.
idea. But talking about their to-go orders, they used to, whatever you ordered, they'd lower the bag. They go, all right, here you go. And they'd look if it's hot and shit with you, so you could say something right there. And they verify if you got all your ranch and shit, and then they let you go. That's a little tip worthy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let me take this opportunity, since we're mostly a Memphis-based stream, to shout out East Coast Wings. Okay? They have just as much, if not more, variety in their wing sauces, but they are by far superior wings to Buffalo Wild Wings. Now, and this is coming from somebody, guys, I was a stan for BWW.
It was.
Back in the
Every
day.
day. I'm at lunch at
really
B-Dubs.
I was constantly eating lunch at B-Dubs. Every Sunday morning, we were there at fucking 11 a.m., ready
Wings
for
for
fucking football. Like, look, you couldn't have been any more ride or die for B-Dubs than I was, all right? And this is me sitting here telling you, if you are in Memphis, literally across the street from the Wolf Chase location, there is a place called East Coast Wings, another sports bar, still TVs everywhere, little less floor space, but I've never been and waited. Normally I can walk in, go right to the bar and sit down. Never waited more than 15 minutes for a table if me and the wife have gone for dinner. Fantastic food, always good service.
Do you eat bone or boneless?
It depends on the day. I normally I will
Both?
get mostly I will get traditional. Mostly I will get the bone in, but the boneless is also the chicken nuggets with buffalo sauce on them are also
Chicken
good.
nuggets are what boneless wings.
That's what I was
are.
gonna say. If he was gonna say, "Oh, I have boneless," I was gonna say, "You just
You
like
got
me
chicken
then.
nuggets.
We just got chicken nuggets. It's just a different place you got them at." But he said
Yep.
he said traditional too, so that I believe what he's saying now.
So highly recommend it. East Coast Wings. I don't know if it's 53 miles worth, but if you're ever in the area, I definitely recommend it for sure. For sure. Yeah.
Dude, did we go from talking about unions to wings? Is this
We
the same
did.
topic?
So the last thing I'll say before we switch to our it looks like our last topic, is that for all this talk about money and wealth, the disparity, and this kind of systemic repetition of generational wealth, essentially.
Yep.
A lot of the people, especially those who are in the very lower brackets of income, who still stan the super wealthy billion gajillionaires for whatever reason, even though it benefits them not at all, is because they, like, in their minds, they think at some point, it's possible one day I might be the factory owner. I might run this shit one day, when chances are the odds, especially with the way things are right now, is you will not. Your spawn point's very important, right? So if you spawn, if you start out in a very well-off household, well-educated, high income, then chances are your children and their children's children will also have a very good spawn point. So your spawn point is very important there as well.
Or if you invested in GameStop.
If you didn't invest in GameStop, you would have been popping. That's true. Or
The only thing that separates
Not popcorn.
the biggest thing that
Popcorn's a
separates
distraction.
the biggest thing that separates someone who would consider themselves an entry-level investor to a professional investor is the amount of capital they have to throw at it.
I mean,
Period.
GameStop stock's about 180. Got 180, you could be a millionaire in a couple months.
You-
Who knows?
Hold on. Elaborate. What were you saying?
We'll find out. Earnings are next week. Stay tuned.
I look at him play it off again. He's like, "Hey, you hear this?" And you're like, "Oh, tell me this." He's like, "You gotta hear more next week." Yeah.
Gotta dangle that carrot.
Yeah, you know, if you've got enough money to throw thousands and thousands of dollars at a bunch of different startups, hoping that there's a whale in there somewhere, all you need is that one. So, anyways,
We'll get into day trading options, which is where I'm at.
God.
Ooh,
So,
that's a dangerous game.
Speaking
Don't do
of pretending that we live lives that we actually don't, let's talk about roleplay a little bit.
I love
Who,
roleplay.
who put this in the
This is
doc?
Jamie's topic.
It was me.
So let's talk about it. What do you want to talk about, bro?
Well, we were thinking about more gaming topics, but with roleplay, that kind of applies to like everything in life. But mainly, I wanted to talk about the version of it involved in video games we play with other people, or tabletop games we play with other people.
Mhm.
Like we were talking about MMOs earlier. MMORPG. RPG stands for role-playing game, correct? You're taking the role of some character and playing through them and doing things. Now, if that entails just saying nothing for your entire life and right-clicking people and then doing what they tell you, I guess that's a form of roleplay. But to me, it's always meant something more. It's always been putting a little bit of yourself into whatever you're acting as. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I role play a well-adjusted human being at work every day.
These are going back to the life thing. And yes, that's true. That applies in a lot of areas. But even in a gaming sense, like every single character I've ever made in any MMO, with the exception of 2, and actually I'll use New World for that example. I truly could care less of what I was when I was in New World.
Yeah, there was not really any losing yourself in fantasy in that environment for me.
But I every character I made, yeah, I tended to portray myself a little bit as that character. Like my Tarn warrior, I made sure if I'm going to the battleground, I don't give a shit. I'm going in front, I'm going in hard, and I'm yelling shit. If I'm playing my warlock, you can ask Baka. We actually did quite a bit of hanging out roleplay stuff when I was on that character.
Were you in Goldshire?
I mean, never went to Goldshire. Never. We were always Horde, so I never really had an opportunity. But we had some adventures. My friends in the past used to call it hammocking because they found us hanging out in a hammock one time in game. But regardless, role-playing is fucking amazing in any gaming aspect. I love it. I wish it was... this is tough to say. I don't think it should ever be required, but I wish that we lived in a world where that was just the norm. That's one of the reasons why I have a Final Fantasy as well. Because, I mean, it doesn't have to be an RP server and shit like that. Every server is an RP server. Typically, everyone you run into is acting like that, whatever, they're characters, essentially. Or themselves in just a society that's built for those characters. So it's...
All right, Joker.
We live in a society.
It feels good. It feels good to RP walk around Gridania in the evening when it's just getting dark. I love it. I love that shit. And that's just games. Real life, you see how I am in D&D. If y'all have watched our streams, you see the way I act. I love being little gnomes. I love being boisterous. And I love being typically a good character. It's fun. And you know what? When I'm being a good character, me, Jamie right now, in real life, I kind of act on the way that if I was that little gnome, that's what I'd do too. That's that little piece of me right there. What do y'all think about that? Do y'all agree in that type of sentiment? Or would y'all 180? Would you be the guy, well, you know, I'm Matt in real life, and I try to take care of my kids, and I love my family, and I work my job. But in the game, I want to murder every single little piece of shit I can find. I'm gonna kill them all because it's completely different, and you separate entirely what you are.
So I also tend to build myself in games, and when there's decisions, I tend to make the good decisions versus the bad decisions, because that's what I would make in that scenario.
That's a female torn. I'm not a female torn. That's Kim.
But I would say lately in the last few years, I purposefully do try to deviate from the standard like Paragon playthrough. And same for me, like I want to be the upfront tankish character going in, or just hard melee, right? That was my character in Shadows, was upfront, brute force, that type of thing. That's the typical character that I play. But I've tried to forcefully play other things, like play a mage style character or make the evil decisions, which is outside of my comfort zone, just to try a different experience. But on the topic of roleplay, I typically try to build myself if the character creator of the game sort of allows for that sort of narrative. And what I find most interesting is when the character influences you in real life after you've played through the story, and you pick up a piece of the character as you.
Now you're referring to games that have like a pre-made character with a preset personality, and then you kind of absorb from that.
Yeah. So something like we've talked about God of War a couple times on here, and like for me, God of War on PS4 was just a really powerful story of Kratos being a father to his son, and like some of that left a mark on me. Or like when even just being excited about a character, like going through and playing Witcher and really falling in love with the Geralt character, and then you want to go and buy like a shirt with the wolf emblem on it, or get like a wolf keychain, schooled wolf.
You gotta
keychain,
show that you stand that character, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Like for me, like I think I don't know that quite falls into RP, but I think having the ability to impress yourself on a character and having a character impress its creation onto you, I think is a really unique aspect of video games. As far as like doing the actual role play, like Shadows was a really interesting experience for me, because that was my
Demon Lord?
Yeah. That was my first time doing a tabletop game. That was my first time really RPing in real life. And we had this discussion sort of as a debrief after that campaign ended, that we didn't go, the whole table like just didn't go into heavy RP during that campaign. And I wish we would have done a lot more. I would have liked to have gotten into a character, and like we just never had that opportunity really. Like that chemistry just wasn't there as a table, I don't think. So I like in that campaign, I was more or less myself, and that took away from the fantasy of that and did a disservice to the game. Where, if I ever get the opportunity to do something like that again, I'd like to do something that's a decent departure from who I am as a person, to be able to immerse myself in a role play and not let my personality influence the gameplay.
That's why you put a little bit of yourself in there.
I was gonna say, it's important, I think, as another DM, to put at least a piece of you into your character, right? It can be something small, right? Like even something as small as like my character's deathly afraid of spiders, or my character finds this type of humor very funny or relatable, right? It doesn't have to be something so overt, right? But I think it is important to put at least a small piece of you, of Matt, or Jamie, or JD, into the characters you make, for sure.
Do you think?
You want to play our game?
What about the people that do what now?
Nothing, guys.
Do you think the people that play like MMORPGs or like D&D, but they opt not to behave like a different personality completely, or they opt not to role play essentially? Do you think typically that's? I'm not gonna say do you think it should be allowed, because of course everybody can play the game however they want to, right? No one's arguing that. But do you think they're doing themselves a disservice by being that way, even if they don't prefer it?
I personally don't think so in an MMO setting, in a video game setting. Like where it like RP seems to be a very energy giving thing to you. Like it energizes you, you're very excited by it. I think the typical response to RP is that it feels very awkward. And uncomfortable, right? I don't know if there's an element of vulnerability there because people really want to do it, but they feel like it's uncool or weird, so they don't. Where if you can shed sort of those judgments.
I was agreeing with Kim in the chat with Bachmus. I think it depends on the MMO.
I think if the community, like again, I haven't played FF, but I think if there's a culture of RP in the game, then that makes it much easier to do it, right? Because it's the norm and it's not the weird thing. Versus WoW, where it's more pee pee poo poo 12-year-olds who are just yelling about random things, but you coming
old
in
man yelling at clouds.
Yeah, if you come in and try to be a priest, people will find that weird because the culture of that game just isn't that.
You told to shut the fuck up and get LOL'd out.
Yeah,
so forth and so on.
I think Bachmus had a great point. It depends on the game, first off, and I think that I'll be honest. I think WoW was a huge. I think that they broke a lot of what would be considered the cultural norms for MMOs. It made MMOs accessible to a much wider variety of people, whereas before, when you had EverQuest and Guild Wars and God, what was the one you played way back? For some reason, I have this memory of you playing a karate dude, Jamie, way back in the day on some MMO.
Because I did Anarchy Online.
Anarchy, right? So a lot of those
sci-fi MMO world.
Yeah, a lot of those games, they did have an emphasis on RP, right? And they catered a lot to that. Whereas when WoW came out, it catered, definitely to that same crowd, especially when it first came out. But as it went on and became more of a mainstream, exactly, a mainstream title, and you bring in people who are used to playing other mainstream titles like COD or whatever, right? It created this kind of almost expectation where, like, okay, wow, this is what MMOs are. World of Warcraft is an MMO, and this is what all MMOs are. And yes, it cultivates that awkward environment if you wanted to RP, unless you're on an RP server. But even then, it's like when the game itself is not really catered around that, the RP servers, it's like a lot of times, especially on the more popular RP servers, they take that and they just go fucking as far hard into RP as you could possibly get, and there's no kind of middle ground. It's not a very inviting experience for somebody who doesn't already roleplay, who isn't already comfortable with that environment, I think. So yeah, it just creates this awkward. Like I roleplay in D&D all the time. I love it. I love kind of receding into another persona, right? And just that escapism of it. But I don't think there's ever a scenario where I would have been comfortable RPing on WoW. Ever.
Yeah.
It didn't cultivate that type of environment for me, right?
I got a story about that.
Hit me with it. Tell story time. Tell me, Dad.
When I went back to WoW Classic to play with Kim, when they were all opting to go in there and they played on an RP server, I made a dwarf hunter, Orgus Bronzeslate, and I roleplayed my ass off. I was a little level 15, walking around through Goldshire or through what's that zone next to it? It's to the west. I forget. It's
the farm area.
Yeah, where that dungeon is. Westfall, yeah. And Westfall.
Goldshire.
And I would see people hanging out, and I'd walk by, and I chose to play. You know what? I'm gonna play a good-hearted dwarf who's just a socially okay, fun guy. And I'll see two people dueling, and I'll go, "Whoa, lad! Looks like you got some powerful fireballs there." And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, you want to see him?" Like, "Oh no, you look like you know your shit way better than just playing the little rookie guy." And I talked to a lot of people that way, and some of them added me to friends, and we started going on dungeons and adventures together, and it was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I remember specifically there were these two night elf ladies that they would invite me to everything, or always say, "Hey, we're doing this social roleplay event. You should absolutely come." They invite me to their Discord and all this extra shit. And there was
Bachmus know about this? Bachmus, you know about this?
I don't think I don't know if Bachmus knows or not. The Discord I'm looking at right now.
Oh
shit! Here we go.
They were part of it's almost like a Cirque du Soleil group in Warcraft. They're called Cirque de Mystique. And they would do like tarot readings and little performances in Stormwind. And they would always ask me to come hang out with them.
That's kind of cool.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It truly was. But they, when you start talking about in-depth stuff, that's why it reminded me of this. They would tell me to get these specific mods for role-playing, and I would download them. And these mods are like a thesaurus of shit you can see about other people's characters and stuff. Like, what's your actual gender? Name 6 things about your character. Choose 18 different attributes in relation to height, foot size, age, backstory, just all this extra stuff, which I filled out somewhat and then saw other people had it. And that's after I got that mod, I'd learned, okay, there's a whole new universe here now. Yeah. Because I highlighted one of the night elf chicks next time I saw after I got the mod, and it says like, oh, 8 months pregnant. And I'm like, oh, fuck, this whole fucking time. Apparently she's been pregnant.
That baby like, walking around.
So there's
a shit.
Like you said, in some places it could be a little off-putting. I think at that point, that's when it kind of started getting, this is incredibly in-depth shit. Yeah. I was just happy being Orgus Bronzeslate, the hunter running around. Yeah. And now I gotta.
I mean, I don't know like the traditional RP rules. I don't understand like why when you RP you have to wear a foxtail butt plug.
Well,
but I respect the rules.
You want to, but that may just to kind of self-report a little bit here. That may or may not have been something I just told you so that I could remote control the butt plug from my app in my phone. I apologize for that ahead of time. Well, not ahead of time now.
Runs around in there.
So that kind of actually brings me to an interesting thing that I've been kind of bouncing around in my head with regards to D&D and role playing. One of the most immersion breaking scenarios that I experience constantly, especially as a player, but also as a DM. If I'm DMing a powerful boss or whatever, right? I'm gonna speak to this as a player though. So you go through, and I think you, especially Jamie, know me, that when I create a character, I really dive into it. Like, I think I've sent you multiple 3-page fucking backstories about who I am, where I was born, like all this stuff, right? So I create this very robust character in my mind that already I'm not an actor, so I am not still great at acting as my character all the time. I fuck up my if I choose to do an accent. Which that's another thing I'd love to talk about. You don't always have to do an accent when you do a fucking character, right? You can just do your regular fucking voice, right? But, I fuck shit up all the time with my character. But in the back of my mind is always that backstory I wrote. I remember everything about my backstory because it was very important to me when I was creating my character. But when you have, when you have a character who's like, and this hasn't happened in our specific campaign, right? But just to use like as a made-up example, right? So like my character in our Descent into Avernus campaign, he's a sailor, right? He's spent the majority of his life on the sea, and then we'll get on a boat to go sail somewhere, and I do some sort of check to check something related to the sea or boating that would be completely, not to your average person, but somebody who spent their whole life on the ocean on a boat should be nothing. And then you roll a natural one and it's like, you have no fucking clue. You don't know what that rope is for, dude. Could be for anything, and that, so like that, it kills the immersion for me, man. So I try and keep that in mind when I'm running my games. If I've got a certain difficulty check in mind, depending on who is making that check and what their background is that they've sent me, I'll try to keep that in mind. I might even lower the difficulty check for somebody who is, who that really just like lines up with their character, because I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh,
not wanting to save you from a lower check.
You're an expert on volcanoes. That might be lava. Who knows?
Yeah.
So I think that kind of plays into like, I have a hard time role playing with like MMOs and stuff like that, because it is, you're limited to the things that the game presents to you, I think.
Dude, can I tell you all about my Wednesday group? What they did?
Yeah.
They
Yes.
So on the topic of role play, so we just pretty much finished Wolves of Welton. They found the wolves. They were in this forest. They could talk. Turns out they had 2 direwolf leaders. One was infused with lightning. One was infused with fire. They had tremendously different ways of leading their packs. I'll upload this to YouTube soon enough so y'all can see it who hasn't seen it. It's a Twitch VOD right now. If you go to our videos, you can find it in there. But the way they were being pushed was, first off, they wanted to make peace with them. These wolves were intelligent. They were taking sheep away from a town. The group wanted to find out why and say, hey, chill, we can work this out. One of the wolves was vehemently against it. Mankind is evil. They skin us. They hunt us. They're in our way. They can fuck off, and you can fuck off. That was one of the wolves.
That's my wolf.
The other wolf was, perhaps we could come to terms and less life can be lost, and perhaps we could find a way to make this work. So they butted heads tremendously on that, to the point to where they were one was going to murder the other, is how it was going to play out. Yeah. And the party, the entire fucking time, there's other wolves there. It's not just these 2 dire wolves that are, some are like being aggressive, some are staying back because they don't know how to approach the situation. One's lunging at the bard. Bard opts to sit on the ground, start playing an instrument, and just, hey, dude, we're just here to chill. I'm gonna fucking prove it. I'm gonna fucking prove it right now, and just start strumming away.
Power of music.
And the role play works for it too. A wolf lunges at him, and he's just playing that song, just spinning back and forth, and the wolf goes right past him and misses him. But they were the whole fight pushing for peace for the sake of themselves, and the game was pushing them again. One of those wolves had to die. That was the 90% outcome of this, based on the level of intensity it kept escalating. Please, can we talk about this? No, fuck you, we're fighting. Please, we can do something about this. No, you're gonna die. There has to be something we can do. Go to hell, I'm gonna kill you. Over and over, just shot down. But they finally, they didn't give up. They kept pushing for it. And in the end, with a dice roll of a not high chance, they got the more aggressive wolf to, okay, you know what? Let's see how this plays out. Completely different ending than anything that I was expecting that could have gone down, because of how they chose to approach it.
That's awesome.
I was so proud of them for that.
Yeah.
I was
That's
super
awesome.
proud of them.
Hell yeah. I love shit like that, man.
Yeah.
And I try to separate my it's not always easy. I try to separate my knowledge as a DM with the knowledge of my character in the game that I'm playing in. And regardless of whether I know what's going on, I try to think, what would my character know? What would Hayes know? And how would he react? Not how would Moose, how would JD react to this? What's the logical way to approach this this scenario? What would he do? And I think, and again, rest in peace to my boy Merrick, the ranger from the beginning of our Avernus campaign. But I knew damn well going into that, like, kind of how that was gonna fucking go, from a mechanics standpoint.
With a noble, or
right. Well, so we were in different rooms when he was essentially assassinated, right? And he was laying on the ground bleeding out. And I knew that as a player.
Yeah.
And I knew what the consequences of that most likely, not definitely, but most likely would be as a player and as a DM, knowing the mechanics of the game. But I had to look at it as, what would Hayes know? Hayes can't see through the fucking door. Hayes didn't hear anything, so Hayes has no reason to stop chasing this assassin to turn around and go run in the door necessarily, right?
Right.
And ultimately that resulted, again, rest in peace, have one for my homie Merrick.
Mm-hmm.
that had nothing to do with a tiny wrench too, right? No thought there about potentially.
I don't even know what you're talking about, man. What are you... Wrenchy? Who's Wrenchy?
That's some Shadow the Demon Lord
That's a whole
call
other
back
thing.
there. I don't know if the chat will know anything about that. Can I tell him real quick?
You can
Can I bring
tell,
it up?
hit him. Yeah, tell them the story. Sing them the song of Wrenchy. Why don't you? Just open that wound right back up. I'll sit here for it. Come on.
In Shadow the Demon Lord, which is like D&D except in a dark universe with a different rule set, the team was in a tower exploring, and they found this treasure buried, this bag in one of the rooms. And Orion, which was Moose's character, found this small wrench that he learned was actually alive in a way. It was like a sentient construct. It sprouted little arms and legs and was there and happy to assist and help out. And it was his little buddy. And Orion got really attached to it. He almost saw, because Orion was actually a robot man.
I was gonna say, make sure you tell him I was a robot man.
He saw this little construct, which is like almost like a little robot child, and so he adopted it as such. It meant a lot to him. They got really close, and he called on him for help when he needed him, and kept him safe and tucked away at his side at all times.
He was my son.
He was.
Eventually, they get into a fight, and Orion brings Wrenchy to the battle. He brings him out. He wants, because they need every ounce of help at this point. They want they want as much power as they can get, as firepower as they can handle. So Wrenchy's out on the field. Enemies aren't really paying attention to him. It's just a small wrench on the floor. Not a big threat, right? One of the other party members that he was a magic caster. I believe he was a time mage specifically.
He did the Emperor Palpatine lightning.
He had access to a lightning spell that fired off in a cone. His character was just blinded by an attack. So, and this is the crux of the debate right here. When he fired that cone lightning attack, the wrench was in the cone. As a player, he knew that. As a blinded character, not so much. Maybe he knew, maybe he didn't. But he fired it anyhow. And he incinerated that wrench. That was Merrick. Merrick fired that cone lightning.
Merrick didn't fire that cone lightning.
Well, not Merrick, but the player of Merrick.
The argument for the shadows is, I mean, and it's fine for the character to make that choice, right? But ultimately, it's poor judgment if you're blind and there's a close quarters combat fight happening with your allies. Probably don't throw down a powerful AoE right in front of you.
Extremely. Now that's a good argument. It's one I wish y'all would have told him. I don't know if y'all did or not.
We did.
In character, told him. You told him in character.
Maybe not in character.
You just yelled at him about Wrenchy.
Yeah, we yelled profusely about Wrenchy.
But that has no relation to any situations that occur now.
If I'm blinded, if I'm a flamethrower guy and I'm blinded and I have some melee guys, I'm maybe not gonna pull the trigger on my flamethrower for a minute until I get my vision back. Robbie, if
forget
you're
what
out
fight
there,
that was.
you know.
It was one of the angel fights.
Y'all were against the angels, like when they're all together.
When we were in that church in the that was like under the sarcophagus.
Mhm.
Yeah, down there.
Oh yeah, that's the. Is that the one that had all the dead bodies on the side
Yeah,
walls?
Yep.
Like the entire town was stuffed into like a church, and
Yeah.
just corpses were everywhere, and y'all had to climb over them.
We had to pass insanity checks every time we got into that room.
I've blocked all memories of that encounter from my brain. I don't want to remember the tragic death of my wrench son.
That angel one was actually I was going down the list of the original campaign we were doing, and that was one I kind of that was a replacement one that I could have put in there over a different one, which I thought I thought the angel one was way better. The other one was all political. Was find out info from this guy, and then this guy, and then that guy, and while you're doing that behind the scenes, these other 8 guys are talking and dealing and going across town, and
You made a good choice.
I mean, you also as a DM, you know, you kind of want to cater to your party, right? So you got a party who's not very RP heavy as that particular group was, then you don't want to jam a bunch of RP heavy scenarios down their throat, because they're not going to approach them in the same way, and they're not going to get the same satisfaction, and you as the DM definitely are not going to get the satisfaction of that interaction playing out the way that it ultimately will. I from D&D standpoint, I love role play. I don't think that many. I would love for our Icewind Dale campaign to be a little more RP heavy. I don't think that is gonna ultimately be the outcome, right? Just because I want it doesn't mean it's gonna happen. So I kind of plan for somewhere in the middle, because we do have some good RP moments for sure. We definitely do, but it's also not the driving factor of that particular campaign. So I have to plan around that as such.
Hey, Kira went to sleep, right?
Yes.
Does she get mad at me sometimes when we're doing our D&D?
Yeah, I mean, yes. Is that what that means? If he had to think about it, yes.
Well, no, I'm thinking about it more in terms of like, so if she has,
I'll bring up an example.
She hasn't
you tell
said
me, 'cause you
anything
can tell.
to me about it.
But you can read faces. So I'll use an example. We got to town. East Haven was destroyed. We got back to Bryn Shander. You're describing it like a refugee crisis. Tons of people are there. Shit's everywhere. Supplies are super dwindled. Everyone's trying to take care of each other. It's a super emergency situation. We go to town hall. It's time to discuss. Holy fuck! We got to do something about this. So Cinda steps forward. Free healers kits? Free healers kits anywhere? Anyone got any free healers kits? And she does it for a good bit, and then as Wilzu, acknowledging the situation is under duress at the time, I yell at her. Wilzu yells at her. This is not the time for this. Like another
how you do that voice, by the way.
You say what?
I don't know how you do that voice, by the way. I've tried. I can't do it.
The Wilzu voice, just higher pitch, straining the throat, going deep in there.
I can't do it. Anyways,
but
you were saying.
It basically it almost like shuts her down, which I mean, as a player to player, I don't want to do, but I'm charactering that. I see a situation like this. I think this is exceptionally uncalled for at the time being. Character chastises character. Does she get real life, like looking at her face, real life distraught over that?
No. And I know, again, at least I can only speak from what I have
Observed.
like talked with her and observed, right? She did not make a point to say anything to me after the fact about that at all. I think ultimately that was the first time for her in a D&D or role-play environment dealing with a situation that dire. And I don't think that dire of the entire everything being destroyed.
I can give you the other example.
Hit me with the other one.
The other example takes place in a campaign called Horde of the Dragon Queen, where an honor duel is being called out from a group that's about to attack this keep that all of you are at. And
now,
James at the time.
Now, again, I think you should approach Horde of the Dragon Queen a little different because that was her very first D&D campaign.
Yeah, but I'm saying that was another time of when it happened, or when it essentially a moment where there's some deep shit going on, and now in game a chastising event is occurring. Because I remember James failing that honor duel. He went down almost in one hit because he opted to go for his strongest shit against the Dragonborn, which is a breath weapon. And so he was fighting a man who likes to go toe to toe. So he's like, "Oh, breath weapons, eh?" And he breath weaponed his ass, rolled high damage. James hit the floor. Immediately when that happened, Kira, I think she was an archer of some sort at the time.
I don't remember.
Fires her bow at the guy who's still standing, which is a big no. After
right.
There were some civilians to the side that had knives to their throat, and everyone was told not to interfere or they're fucked. So she shoots the arrow. 3 people get their necks slit, and then the entire group rushes the kingdom. I think at that point y'all fall back or fight ensues. I don't remember what happens after that point, but you go back up.
Remember that, yeah.
Y'all go back up to the keep. You talk to the head of the keep, and he's like, "You accepted the duel. Your behavior got them killed." And Kira's trying to justify it. Lay down, my friend. I'm gonna help. And he was like, "People died because you intervened." And then she's like, "You need to. If you don't understand, I'm going to take." And it's back and forth.
Right,
and I'm playing the role of the keep leader. And I'm like,
sure.
"You get out of my keep now, God!" Like I'm like yelling at her in the room, as Jamie talking to Kira, but we're in characters.
Right.
That I'll never forget that moment, because afterwards I looked at her like, "Man, that was some shit, huh?" Because I didn't know how to feel about it either. The first time dealing with that as a DM and player interaction.
So,
but that was the only other time with her that's happened with me.
I can tell you this: if she felt some kind of way about it, oh god, here come the bots. What'd they say?
Yeah, bots.
They do want to be famous. Unban their chat.
No, Nightbot's handling them. Good work, Nightbot.
We got 2. Yeah.
Telling me how to
get
buy followers and become buy? Is that what that says?
I don't know. I can't read them across town. It's too hard to read.
So anyways, that particular instance, I don't recall her saying anything to me that she was upset one way or another. I think in that particular time, especially since that was the first campaign that she'd ever played in, as well as the first situation where direct consequences had been dealt as the result of actions that were taken, I think, if anything, she was probably more taken aback, not expecting that type of situation. She never said like, "Oh, that was bullshit what Jamie did, should have done that," right? And so again, even though those are dire, that was a response and an action and consequence type of situation, whereas this situation where you guys kind of roll up into a town that she already really had a disdain for anyway, that was a new role play experience, because those are 2 different experiences for sure, at least from my point of view. If I was the character in that, those are definitely 2 different things. It's, hey, this is something I did, and these are the consequences of my action, versus I guess still kind of consequences, but indirectly, right? So we spent extra time at location A, so location B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P got absolutely exploded. I think her initial reaction as a cleric was like, overload, right? How can I help? Okay, I don't have enough spell slots to deal with any of this. I know I've got to save what I've got for the inevitable battle with this dragon. So what's the first logical thing I can think of that I've already been using? Healer's kits. It's the only thing I really know to use. It's the only thing I know how to help. And this is kind of from a character standpoint, and I'm not saying that it went as deep as this for her character, but you know, that's trauma, right? So when you're experiencing trauma, you're not exactly thinking rationally.
If
But
she's thinking of all that, she's
to
a
get
role player.
well, that's what I'm saying. To get out of over analyzing it, I think that was just a new scenario that hadn't happened. She's a healer and she wants to think, how can I heal these people? And this is how I've been doing it, essentially at a very low cost. So let me go around and look, and not so much, what's the reality that there's just a bunch of free healers kits laying around, right? So
I always worry about that when we have those interactions, and it can get a little like back
there.
and forthy.
Now, I won't say there hasn't been I don't remember exactly what the situation was, but there was a time, I think it was in Tomb of Annihilation, where like the day after the session, she was like, I don't think Jamie likes my character. I think he hates my character. And that was kind of the extent. I was kind of like, what are you talking about? And I don't remember the finer details of it, but so yes, there has been situations where she's like, is Jamie mad at me? Does he not like me? But it's been like maybe once, maybe twice in all the years that we've been playing. And the two situations that you specifically pointed out were not among those. I think it just, again, comes to... So even though we haven't, by comparison to a lot of people, right? We haven't been playing D&D for an exceptionally long time. It's been years, but not 20 years, 30 years, right, that we've been playing D&D. By comparison, we've also spent a lot of that time playing role-playing games, escaping into other realities, being able to separate us, separate Jamie or separate JD from the character we're playing, and she has not had that same amount of exposure, interaction with that type of scenario. So I think it's been just a matter of, this is my first time experiencing this scenario.
Can I do a little bit of DM bitching for a moment?
Dude, let's bitch on, bro.
Jaeger, you precisely come to mind with this example.
Shit.
Okay.
Oh shit.
I want to make an open world ever since one moment I experienced with you specifically. These pre-written campaigns are okay, but Jesus fuck, I really wish I just had, here's the whole world. You guys do what you want. Because I remember there was one interaction where you guys were at a tavern, something came up and they're like, hey, do the thing for me, okay? Here's some money. And then you specifically were like, nah, fuck that. That's not good enough. I don't want to. Let's go ahead and head out. To which, as a DM, leaves me with only one choice because I don't have fucking anything else. Hey, here's more stuff, eh? More stuff for you, sir? And to which eventually y'all turn around like, okay. I hate that. I fucking hate that. I don't know what to do about it. Without an open world, you give that guy the bird all day and then go peace out and go fucking anywhere else and just exist in this world, right?
Well, I mean, the intent of that interaction was a monetary negotiation tactic. It was to get more stuff.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes I don't want to get more stuff. Y'all don't need fucking 5,000 gold a piece sometimes.
Yes, we do.
Rich at the end.
Yes, we do.
I mean, if you want a town saved, we do.
That's what I'm talking about. I just, if we had an open world so we could see what happens in the aftermath, I think that'd be cool. So I'm honest to God thinking about actually just kind of designing.
Do a homebrew?
Yeah, I'm seriously thinking about that, and I'm gonna have all these different areas fleshed out, and here's these things that can happen. It's gonna take a while to get going, but I'm heavily considering it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could think to do in that type of scenario would be like, what are the consequences if they don't stop the bad thing that the quest is meant to get them to stop, right? And then
that's actually easy to do if you make them.
Right.
But if you go there saying, all right, here's this thing, he's gonna tell them they got to go to this place and get on a train, and then y'all like, that place sucks, I don't want to ride a train. That's like, oh shit, nothing happens, and then we're done. Like nothing happens. Has to...
with that type of situation, that is like one of the most difficult situations to deal with as a DM, because you have to be ready at just a second's notice to have something else right there backed up. Because even if you think about your most sandboxy of video games, right? Let's think Breath of the Wild, right? Wide open world, or even for Matt, let's talk Witcher 3, right? It's very open, very sandboxy, but at all times you have that main quest there. There is that main string that you're just kind of tugging on throughout the entire thing, and for me, I try, even with the side quests and everything, to still have a hint of the main driving thing in that, so that it's always a point of progression when I want it to be. If things just go really weird or really sideways, I've got that ace in my pocket that I can say, I've already been sprinkling this shit on top, but I'm about to bring out the whole goddamn cheese grater and put it on this shit now because you guys are acting a fool. So that's what I try to do, and it's not easy, but the more you play with people too, you kind of get an idea of how they might react to a certain situation, or which way, do they go left or do they go right? If it's Sigor, we know they always go left. So I can put something in the game.
Best fall I've ever had on a character.
I can put something.
After somehow logic and reason why no matter what we have to go left. That was a lot of fun.
Always left. And so
there was one time I found a secret to get around it. But go ahead.
I was gonna say, so always I know I've got something like that in my pocket, right? If you guys decide to do some weird shit, I can figure out a way to make you go left and put you exactly where I want you to be anyway. But it can be really difficult to do that on the spot for sure.
Rhyme of the Frost Maiden, actually, the way you've built it is kind of the way I'm talking. I'd like to do a homebrew one. I'm talking on like a much larger scale, like a whole fucking continent. But your 10 towns is the same exact thing. It's like, you literally, like, we leave a town. We could go to any town we wanted to, and you had stuff for all of those, I think. And if you didn't, you had it ready to get up immediately.
So what I had to do, and this is something, if you create a homebrew world, you already kind of know this, right? But in a pre-written campaign, you have to read it and prepare for it. But I would take, essentially, I would look at where you guys were and the information that had been given to you thus far, and I would take the 3 most likely places that you would possibly go, and I would put those 3 places into memory. I would prepare, like really dive in and prepare the most likely place you would go, but I would be ready mentally if you decided to pull some weird fucking card out of your pocket and go, you know what? We're gonna go to Garfunkel Town, and that's final. Well, I've got Garfunkel Town in my head,
I'm not the kind of guy that would want to test the limits like that. I would go by, why would Willzoo want to go to Garfunkel Town when someone just said, oh yeah, Garfunkel, they specialize in sculptures. They have a lot of sculptures. And it's
those guys are all,
I go there now. Fuck,
those guys are all racist. You don't want to go there. Yeah, and so and because of that, and because I know you as a person and as a player, I can safely say, I bet they'll go to one of these 2 places instead of one of these 3 or 4. So I'll put my emphasis on these. But I know the mayor of this town. I know the shops, and I know the quests that they give. And given our 3-hour time limit, it'll probably end right about when they pick up that quest, and I can prep for that shit the next week.
I wish to fuck I had that power. I can't do it, dude. I can't
fucking
gauge how
insane.
long the players are gonna take ever. it's impossible. I don't know. Like when every time we start, I'm like, shit, do I have enough? And then I have too much. And then sometimes it'll be like, fuck, well, I've got plenty. And then y'all make it to an area that I haven't even fleshed out. That's like,
and we just Sonic the Hedgehog through that shit, like, no, don't touch me. And then you have, it's like, did I prep enough? And then we spend 2.5 hours fighting zombies that Robbie pissed off.
Yeah, I mean, that's The situations
that's
that pop up that
meme-worthy.
I'm not ready for is like non-goddamn stop.
It's meme worthy. That situation is meme worthy. Somebody needs to make a comic strip of that shit.
Well, not to, I don't want to rain on the parade. I could actually talk back and forth about this all night, but it's a bit past 11 now. We should probably be wrapping it up a little bit.
It's time.
It's time.
All right, well, I'll wrap it up for us. Anybody have anything they want to say?
I am way less knowledgeable on minimum wage stuff than I thought, and Endwalker stuff comes out tomorrow.
In a few hours.
Yeah, in a few hours.
4 hours. 4 hours from now.
Hell yeah, brother.
That's all I got.
Okay.
You can toss down a fucking Red Bull right now. Be ready to go.
You could.
I'm going to bed in like 2 hours. Fuck that.
Yeah, I gotta be up.
They're gonna launch. It's gonna give error 90001 at everybody, and they're gonna be mad. And I'm gonna skip all that. I'm gonna get the fast pass to Sleep Town and just wake up, be good to go.
What are you gonna eat? What's your breakfast before you get into the game?
Nothing. I don't need food.
All right, gonna go in fasting. All right.
You're gonna regret that. You gotta. Yeah. You know what? I'm not
That's his
gonna.
experience.
That's your journey. All right, and you experience that journey however you choose. But our journey tonight is coming to an end. So thank you everybody so much for joining us tonight. We had some great conversations. Great show, everybody.
That's fun.
I want to just plug a couple things real quick. So today's Thursday. We are going to be off this Saturday for D&D. We're going to be off this Saturday. There's some big things coming down the line. We are moving into essentially what is the third act and final act of Rime of the Frost Maiden, and there's a lot that goes into it, and this will give me time to prepare for that, as well as we had a player depart this past week, and I've got to make adjustments for that as well. So Stubbs, if you're watching this, I know you're not here now, but if you watch this later, congratulations. I know you're going to be a fantastic Faja. We will be back the following Monday for Descent into Avernus, and then are you doing Wednesday next week, Jamie?
Yeah, we're still gonna be on for Monday as far as I'm aware.
Well, Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday. Yes, I asked the group what they want to do, and they're thinking about it. They're running out of time to decide. Honestly, I know they're all listening right now, but they were debating on finishing out Wolves of Welton, like finalizing what went down, like they dealt with the wolves. Now go back to the town and talk to them and see what happens, or just start the next adventure. So they have like, what is today, Thursday? They got 2 more days to figure that out before I decide.
Okay, so guys, we'll be back Monday for Descent into Avernus. Things are heating up, as they will say. We'll be back on Wednesday for the Wolves of Welton continuation, and or possibly moving into a new campaign. And then we'll be back the following Saturday for Rime of the Frost Maiden. Not to forget, next Thursday we'll be back here talking about shit next week as well. So don't forget to join us at 8 on Thursday next week as well. I also want to just put it out there into the universe that the Saturday before Christmas, that is the 18th, so not next Saturday, but the week after, we are actually going to be doing a very special Cloak and Stagger Christmas one-shot. So we're going to have a couple of new players at the table. So we're gonna shake it up a little, should be fun. It's a real goofy Christmas one shot. Jamie's gonna hate it.
Am I gonna hate it?
No, I think you'll like it. It's fun. I talked to Stubbs about it today, and he was laughing pretty good about it. So I feel comfortable around it. So make sure to join us for that as well, and we'll keep you guys updated. Thank you for joining us. If you want to support the channel, you can do it for free with Twitch Prime. If you link it to your Amazon Prime, $5 subscribes you regardless, and it gets you an ad-free experience, right? So that's always fun. That's it for us. Have a great night, and we will see you on Monday. Bye-bye.